Dragons flew near the high-rise buildings, their wings casting shadows on the glass walls of the city. The Academy of Junior Spiritual Guardians towered among the buildings, attracting the attention of the students. Students walked around the building, their steps filling the courtyard with anticipation. Classes were in session. Less than a week left until the entrance exams to the Academy of Guardians and Pet Tamers. The next few days were meant to be spent preparing to get a decent grade. The exam in a week would open the door to the perfect college. The teacher finished the lesson. The students discussed the exams, realizing that with the current strength it was difficult to count on the fourth year of Pet Tamers. Thoughts hovered around the Senior Academy of Spiritual Guardians, but for many, it remained an unattainable goal. It was important to at least think about entering any academy, so as not to remain an ordinary person forever. There was only a week left before the exam on knowledge of spiritual protection. The days were flowing like sand through the fingers. Yolin was lost in his thoughts, wondering what it meant to be a transitioner at this moment. He realized that only a week ago he had passed into this body, merging with the memory that it held within itself. With this knowledge came the understanding. He knows what kind of world surrounds him and what laws operate in it. This is a world where monsters run rampant, and people can only survive behind high and strong city walls. To combat the threat, humanity followed the path of evolution, domesticating spiritual beings. This path led to the emergence of a special profession that changed life and order in the world. Spirit Guardian, a warrior who can fight monsters with the help of a spirit beast. They guard the walls of cities, keeping monsters out of human settlements. But their power also allows them to discover new territories and expand their borders beyond the city walls. For the young people of this world, the greatest dream was to become a powerful spiritual guardian. Every citizen of the Federation who reached the age of 18 was given a monster egg to sign a contract with. By signing it, one could acquire one's first spiritual pet and step onto the path of a guardian. But this story is not about Yolin. The previous owner of the body already had a monster hatched before his migration. He got an ugly, terrifying monster. Its movements resembled a small jiangshi, a Chinese jumping vampire that came to life from a dead body. The zombie spirit pet had high defense, but its attacks were meaningless. Such pets could not evolve and remained useless. A thought flashed through his mind. The previous owner of this body must have died of despair. Suddenly, Chengji appeared next to him, his footsteps interrupting the flow of dark thoughts. He spoke calmly, reminding that even failure in an exam leaves a path to ordinary life. There are no dangerous adventures there, only work and routine. Yolin felt envious. Chengji's pet was a wind wolf with high stats and the ability to evolve. His own zombie seemed like a burden until a message about an unknown system suddenly popped up. The spiritual guard system detected the first pet and began the activation process. Before Yolin's eyes, the indicators grew. 1%, 35%, 50%, 80%, until they finally reached 100%. The spiritual protection system was successfully activated. Yolin was shocked. His heart was beating faster. He did not expect to get such a chance. Joy flared inside him. These were cheats. Finally, his hidden power had manifested itself. Chengji looked at his friend doubtfully, urging him to focus on the exam. Yolin thought differently. With the system, he had no way into a low-level academy. His real target is the best spiritual guard academies, not the second-rate places. The boy next to him laughed, drawing the others' attention to Yolin's words about his daring goal. He mocked, mentioning that it was impossible to get into a normal academy with such a worthless zombie. It was Luwu, his laughter echoing throughout the classroom as if to emphasize his superiority. Chengji stepped forward, reminding Luwu not to use his family's status against others. Yolin remained calm, deciding not to fight at this moment. The Luwu family was considered the second-ranking family in Tianhui City. Their power was impressive. The family elder had reached the 5th level of spiritual guard, making their influence particularly noticeable. In Tianhui, there were only 3 first-rank families and 5 second-rank families, and the Liuwu family was included in this circle. Yolin restrained himself, reminding himself that now was not the time to fight. It was better to wait for the right moment. His gentleman's sword could wait even for 10 years. Chungji and Yolin were walking down the street on a sunny, calm day. Chungji headed to the hall, warning Yolin that he could find him there if necessary. Yolin decided to run home for now to check the state of the spiritual protection system. At home, the spiritual guard system was activated, helping the owner track various aspects of the pet. It also increased the experience points of the spirit pet, which helped raise its level. Yolin noted a system that allows you to quickly develop spirit pets and track their progress. A message appeared on the screen. Yolin status, Yolin owner, rank 1, level 2, spiritual energy 200 out of 200. The spiritual skills listed were spiritual aim, level 1, energy consumption 100 units. Spiritual shield, level 1, also consumed 100 units of spiritual energy when used. Spiritual sight, level 1, consumed 10 units of energy every second to provide observation. Spiritual pet, black-eyed zombie, stood in the system as Yolin's main assistant. Available free points, 0. Spiritual pet name, black-eyed zombie, immortal species, rank 1, level 2, experience points 0%. The growth force is estimated as average. The speed is maximally developed, 100% of the possible. The pet has a talent for reducing physical damage, but a low rank and no skills. The evolution direction is limited to 1. The next stages of evolution include white eyes, common, gray eyes, uncommon, and yellow eyes, rare. Next up are blue eyes, epic, green eyes, legendary, and red eyes, mythical, the pinnacle of evolution. Yolin studied the message carefully and was surprised. The direction of evolution meant the possibility of zombie development. With this system, his pet could gradually evolve, increasing its growth power with each stage. As soul pets evolve, their growth power slowly increases, reflecting the progress of their training. In this world, pet growth power is divided into 8 levels: low, medium, normal, and uncommon. Next come rare, epic, legendary, and finally, mythic, the pinnacle of all stats. The highest level of growth power, mythical, is unattainable. There is not a single pet with it in the entire Federation. A low-level spirit pet can only be upgraded to a maximum of 4 ranks at level 10, limiting the potential. The average pet can evolve to rank 5 level 10, opening up more skill options: flame impact, fire arrows, firestorm, rebirth. Yolin noted that as long as his black-eyed zombie can evolve, it will no longer be useless. If the pet reaches the red-eyed zombie king, its growth power will become mythical and unattainable. The Academy's spiritual guard system is within its reach. Spiritual pet evolution required special materials, and Yolin decided to study them. He needed to know what resources would be needed for each stage of the pet's development. Yolin thought that the novels and manhwa were not deceiving when he saw all the functions. A message appeared. The system allows the owner to improve the pet for the first time, without resources, and gain knowledge. Yolin thought about free evolution and was surprised. Could a pet really evolve so quickly? He decided to take advantage of the chance. The contract was signed. Now he could improve the pet right away. Pressing the upgrade button, Yolin watched as the pet rose into the air and began to transform. A girl appeared in front of him, and Yolin was surprised to notice that the change was much stronger than he expected. The girl turned to him with a request to take care of her, confirming that evolution had indeed worked. Yolin was pleased and surprised. The evolved zombie girl turned out to be incredibly beautiful and impressive. He thought about her strength, because the pet will hunt monsters and must be strong and reliable. Yolin opened the status window to examine the stats of his new pet in detail. Name: white-eyed zombie. Type: undead. Rank 1, level 2. Experience points 0. Growth strength normal. The growth rate is currently 0. The pet has a talent to reduce physical damage, low level. Additionally, new talents and skills are possible, such as bloodlust, which will expand the possibilities. The direction of evolution is the only one. The path of development leads to gray-eyed, unusual, yellow-eyed, rare, blue-eyed, epic, green eyes, legendary, and red eyes, mythical. Yolin assessed the situation. Everything is fine. The pet's growth power has improved from low to normal. The pet now had a skill: bloodlust. The skill restores the owner when dealing damage to an enemy, heals wounds, and increases attack power. The duration of the effect is 3 minutes. The recharge time is 5 minutes. Despite the recharge, the skill provides long-term combat power and stability to the pet. Yolen thought that combining Bloodlust with a damage reduction talent could deal significant damage. Yolen asked the system what it takes to get points, skills, and talents for a pet. Answer: free points can be added to the pet's points, skills, and talents. At the moment, the owner only has 2 free points available for use. Glasses can be used not only for the pet, but also to improve the owner's skills. Yolen was amazed. It turns out that you can even strengthen your own abilities with the help of the system. This opportunity opened up new perspectives in combat and the development of the spiritual guardian. Mastering the spiritual skills of a spiritual messenger requires extensive training and practice. In modern schools, only 3 skills are taught: spiritual chain, spiritual shield, and spiritual vision. The skills of the Imperial Spiritual Messenger are difficult to develop and take a long time to improve. Yolen realized that his spiritual power would not allow him to develop skills at a high cost. It would be too expensive. He decided that it would be better to concentrate on strengthening the white-eyed zombie. A message about available talents appeared. Magic damage reduction reduces damage from magic. Instant regeneration allows the zombie to quickly recover until it is completely killed. The Berserker talent gradually consumes health, significantly increasing the pet's strength and speed. Once the health drops to a critical level, the talent is automatically disabled. Yolen thought that all 3 skills were very strong and were perfect for his zombie girlfriend. But zombies have to act like zombies, and instant regeneration is necessary. Otherwise, it's a problem. As long as the pet is alive, regeneration will work, preventing fatal injuries during combat. Yolen realized that without this ability, a zombie would not be able to survive and perform the role of a full-fledged fighter. Using Berserker allows you to gradually sacrifice health to increase your pet's strength and speed. When combined with the Bloodlust skill, health is restored, allowing you to attack the enemy again and again. Yolen smiled, realizing that this cycle made his zombie girlfriend truly terrifying. Deciding to add Berserker, he watched the screen and quietly chuckled, noting the changes in the pet. Now she can't be called a black-eyed zombie. She has become white-eyed. Her skin is soft, almost normal. The girl turned to him, asking what he was doing, and Yolen realized that she could speak after evolving. He apologized for calling her zombie earlier and suggested the name Sway, asking her opinion. The girl responded approvingly that it was a beautiful name, and Yolen smiled with satisfaction. Yolen happily noted that from this moment on, the zombie girl was completely his pet and under his control. It combined 4 skills and talents, greatly strengthening her compared to other pets and monsters. CA became stronger than pets, with the same growth power, and Yolen watched this on the screen with satisfaction. However, for further evolution, you need to hunt more and gain experience, thinking about future battles. The time had come for monster hunting, and Yolen was determined to test the strength of his new pet. The Federation where Yolen was located was technologically advanced, but slightly different from previous generations. There were cars and airships here, but they did not run on gasoline or electricity, but on spiritual energy. Spiritual power served as the driving force behind all devices, from transport to complex mechanisms. Cars and ships could only move between cities. Outside, there were dangerous areas with destroyed bridges. Leaving the city without preparation was considered almost suicidal, threatening the lives of travelers. For travel within the city, the safest way is to use cars, and between cities, airships. The Federation has assigned a powerful Imperial Spirit Ambassador to escort the airship to the danger zone. The safety of the journey was basically guaranteed until the ship encountered a large number of opponents. In the Alliance, the only currency was credit points, reminiscent of the money from Yolen's past life. He began scanning the system to use credit points to pay for the ride. Yolen asked the driver to take him to the southern gate of the city, where it was especially dangerous. The driver asked him if he was a student at Manhwa School and if he was traveling alone, reminding him of the threats. Yolen confirmed that he was going on a monster hunt and understood the danger of the route. There are 4 entrances to Manhwa City: east, west, north, and south. Each one is guarded by heavily armed soldiers who fight off the monsters. As he approached the gate, Yolin thought that he was no longer useless and was ready for the challenge. The guard stopped Yolin at the gate, demanding to see his identification, which he quickly produced. The document was checked, and Yolin was allowed to pass, opening the way to the southern gate of the city. There were low-level monsters around the city, and the strong ones were usually located far outside. In the wild, you need to be careful, understanding the danger for the newcomer and the pet. Yolin gave the command to her pet to go out first, preparing to meet the monsters. At the gate, they were met by a grave mound. Dead, low-level skeletal monsters. These monsters could be useful, as they would give evolutionary material from blood when defeated. Yolin concentrated and ordered his pet to move forward, preparing for the first battle for experience. Yolin and Shui walked through the forest, ready to gather resources for the next evolution of their pet. The system provided the first evolution for free, but subsequent ones required its own resources. The white-eyed and normal zombies have already been obtained, demonstrating Yolin's strength and progress. A message has appeared about the resources needed for Xue's next evolution. White-eyed zombie, rare, not yet obtained, requires 4 types of resources: flawless bones, heart of darkness, 10 lesser dark crystals, and 10 bloody darkness essences. At this burial ground, Yolin noticed an opportunity to obtain 2 of the 4 necessary resources. He realized that a thorough hunt and collection of materials for the evolution of the pet lay ahead. Yolin thought, here you can get flawless bones and lesser dark crystal for evolution. Xue appeared from behind, warning that there were undead around. Yolin looked around and realized that they had arrived on time, but for some reason, no one was in sight. According to the map, there should have been skeleton soldiers around the burial ground whose strength corresponded to the 3rd level of the first stage. Suddenly, a bony hand grabbed his leg, and skeletons began to crawl out from under the ground, grabbing Yolin's legs. Yolin shouted for Yue to join the fight and destroy the skeletons, preparing to defend himself. At this point, a message appeared about a new task: to kill 20 skeleton soldiers. The reward for completing the task is 50% of the familiar's current experience, which turned out to be very profitable. Yolin shouted to Xue again, and the girl instantly entered the battle, striking at the monsters. The messages appeared. Familiar Xue destroyed the first skeleton soldier, then the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Yolin was amazed. Xue had taken out 4 enemies with 1 blow, showing incredible strength. He shouted to his pet, "Crush!" and more skeleton soldiers ran towards them. Xue destroyed them all without leaving a single one, demonstrating control and precision in combat. Xue's nails contained cadaveric poison, which could penetrate the enemy's body with the slightest scratch. Skeletons are immune to most negative effects, so the poison had no effect on them. Although the skeletons had barely reached the 2nd or 3rd level of the first stage, they were far from Xue. In a matter of seconds, she destroyed 6 skeletons, completing the task almost instantly. Yolin was impressed and thought the task was completed too quickly. Just awesome. The skeletons continued to emerge from the ground and charge, causing Yolin and Xue to tense up. Xue prepared for battle, striking and killing all the attacking skeletons. A message appeared. First battle is over. 20 skeletons have been killed. Reward: 50% of familiar experience. Yolin noted that he received 50% of the experience, plus experience from killing skeletons, strengthening the pet. He encouraged Xue. A little more, and there will be a level increase. The girl glowed with a golden glow. The screen reported reaching the 3rd level of the first stage and issuing 1 free point. Yolin decided to give the spare point to Xue to strengthen her magic defense and attacks. He noticed elite skeleton officers on the map and suggested going in search of them. Xue smiled, ready for new battles and challenges next to her master. They moved further, and Yolin noticed a girl behind a rock and a skeleton next to her. He was surprised. In front of him was a skeleton officer moving towards a girl in a yellow dress. The girl smiled, and Yolin peered out from behind the rock, watching the fight. It was Huo Xian'er, and Yolin realized that she had beaten him to it. He wondered where she had her familiar, since it was hard to deal with a skeleton alone. The girl said, "Cang Long from the earth, the green dragon, the patron spirit of the East in mythology." A message appeared. The ability to grow in this subspecies of dragons is rare. The initial characteristics are high. Cang Long of the earth, the girl's familiar, a huge dragon, appeared behind Huo Xian-er. The girl pointed her hand at the officer and ordered the dragon, "Stop playing and finish him off." Zhang Long charged, crushing the officer with one paw, causing him to fall to the ground. Yolin watched from behind a rock, amazed by the power and precision of the dragon's strike. The dragon howled, stood on its hind legs, and finished off the officer with a fatal blow accompanied by spiritual flame. The girl opened the flask, from which a purple glow emanated, absorbing the spiritual flame. Yolin noted that even to gather the spiritual flames, Huo Xian-er had prepared equipment. He thought about her strength and status. The Huo family was one of the 3 great families of the City of Heavenly Radiance. The girl praised Kang Long. "Qiang Dong did a good job." Suddenly, Huo Xian-er noticed Yolin and asked him why he was hiding, calling him to come out. Yolin realized that he had been exposed and looked at the eldest daughter of the Huo family, the first beauty of the school. She reached the 7th level of the first stage, while he spent half a year on the 2nd level. Xian-er asked who he was and why he was hiding, coming closer and sizing him up. Yolin tried to laugh it off, saying that he was just passing by and noticed her. The girl mentioned that at school they were talking about his contract with a zombie that was unable to evolve. She asked why he came to the burial ground alone, given the danger, and Yolin called her Beauty Ho. He stated that he goes wherever he wants, and it is none of her business, emphasizing his independence. The dragon became angry and glared at Yolin, attracting both of their attention. He opened his mouth and screamed, demonstrating a threat, but the girl smiled. Huo Xian-er calmed Kang Long down, calling him a good boy, calming the dragon. Yolin exhaled in fear, remaining in place and observing the situation. Xian's voice sounded from behind. "It's very dangerous here. You shouldn't go further. It's better to go back." Yolin refused, saying that he could take care of his own safety, and there was no need to worry. He went into the forest, thinking to himself that he was no longer such a loser as before. The dragon looked at him askance, and Xian was surprised. Why did such a loser come to the burial ground? Xian thought. Almost no one dared to come to the 3rd stage burial ground alone. The girl activated the power in the restoration seal. She noted that Yolin was only on the 1st step, and at the very end of it. Xian decided to observe and understand what he was doing here. Xian began to follow Yolin, hiding behind the trees, watching his actions. Yolin wondered what she was doing, but decided not to get distracted and continued walking forward. Suddenly, bony hands grabbed his legs. Skeletal warriors began to appear from all sides. Yolin realized it was a trap, and Xian noticed 3 skeleton officers with an army of soldiers. The skeletons raised their swords and began to attack, coming very close to Yolin. Yolin shouted, "Come out!" and activated his pet, Shui, a zombie girl. Xian was surprised. The zombie looked too beautiful, like a familiar with evolution or mutation. Yolin ordered Shui to attack, and she instantly rushed into battle, striking at the skeletons. The enemy's bones cracked and flew in all directions. Shui smiled during the fight. Xian watched from behind a tree and marveled at Shui's strength and beauty. Realizing that she was a zombie, Yolin confidently said that the most interesting things are yet to come, preparing for the continuation of the fight. Yolin noticed a message about a new mission. Kill 20 skeleton officers. The reward included 50% of the familiar's current experience and specialized equipment for it. 2 quests at once, plus equipment and leveling up. Yolin was happy with the opportunity to level up. The task seemed daunting, kill 100 skeletons, but he was up for the challenge. He noticed the advance of the skeleton soldier officers approaching the position. Yolin activated Shui's power, Wild Blood, in preparation for battle. Shui emitted a red glow, losing HP but increasing her strength and speed. Yolin noted that zombies are capable of sucking blood, which enhances the effect of Wild Blood. Shui went on the attack, dealing devastating blows to the skeleton officers. Yolin activated the spiritual chain to experience the full effect of the spiritual skill. An iron magic chain appeared, entangling the skeleton officers' hands. They were unable to move, trapped in the spiritual chain. The chain gradually wrapped around the target's entire body, keeping them in complete control. The spiritual chain began to act, completely paralyzing the officers. The girl rushed forward, leaving behind a red shining trail, her eyes glowing with a bloody fire. She jumped up and hit the officer right on the skull, leaving only scattered bones on the floor. Qian thought that Zhu's wild blood was terrifying, and her Earth Kang Long was unable to resist. Yolan watched the battle, noting the strength of his pet, and smiling at the unexpected success. The familiar stood before him, ready to finish the battle as more skeletons approached. Shui charged forward, slashing with her claws at all the approaching monsters. The monsters flew apart, no one remained intact. Everyone received strong blows. Xian was surprised. The most ordinary loser could make Shui such a powerful opponent. She was determined not to give up as she watched the destructive power of Yolan's familiar. Yolan picked up the officer's skull and wondered why nothing valuable had fallen out after the battle. He thought that picking things up manually was a pain, and dreamed of an auto-pick function. A new window appeared. A task was given: to increase the level to the first level of the second stage. The reward included a mystery item and the unlocking of an auto-fetch feature for resources. Yolan was surprised. He was now at the third level of the first stage and still far from the second. He noticed something glowing on the skeleton and realized that it was a flawless bone, a resource for Xue's evolution. Yolan smiled, happy with the ease of getting his first resource for his pet. He remembered that there were only two types of resources available in the burial ground for Xue's evolution: flawless bones and small dark crystals. Yolan called Xue. There are still many resources to find for the next evolution. Xue followed him, ready for the search and new battles. A couple of hours later, Xue stood in a clearing, ready to fight several skeleton warriors. She activated her power, concentrating the energy around herself. One of the skeletons jumped up and rushed to attack, but black waves of energy surrounded Xue. Red energy emanated from the girl, gradually expanding across the clearing. She raised her hands up, causing a magical explosion, and a ball of energy appeared near her palms. The skeletons were struck and hit by a magical blow, their bones flying in all directions. Yolan walked closer and stepped on the skull, watching the message screen appear. Mission completed. 20 skeleton officers killed. Reward: 50% experience and specialized clothing for Xue. With this 50% experience, Xue received an 80% experience increase, which greatly accelerated her development. The specialized robe, Bloody Rainbow, provided resistance to physical and magical attacks, as well as self-purification. The equipment was intended only for Xue, enhancing her combat capabilities. Xue called out to Yolan while holding the dress in her hands and putting it on. Yolan was surprised by her new appearance, noting that it was difficult to endure. Blood spurted from her nose. She changed right in front of him, putting on a new dress and fully prepared for battle. Yolan pointed at the approaching new skeletons, inviting Xue to try out the new equipment. Xue charged forward following Yolan's orders, ready to fight the approaching monsters. Yolan noticed that Xue's clothes were automatically repairing themselves, allowing her to continue fighting without damage. She struck a powerful blow, and a pillar of magical golden light shot straight into the sky. A level-up message appeared. 2 levels in 1 day. Now Xue has reached the 4th level of the first stage. The reward included X1 free points that Yolan could use to upgrade his skills and talents. Yolan realized that it was already late. The monsters became too dangerous at night. It was time to go back. He called Xue home and she followed him, ready for further adventures. Night fell on the city. A bright moon was burning in the sky. High-rise buildings shone with neon lights, reflecting in the darkness of the streets. Yolan lay on his bed, looking tiredly at the screen in front of him. The clock said 11:10. The silence of the night enveloped the room. A status window appeared on the screen, displaying Yolan's current status. Name: Yolan. Level: 4th level of the first stage. Spiritual power fully restored. 400 out of 400. Spiritual skills: Spiritual aim, level 1. Spiritual shield, level 1. Spiritual vision, level 1. Familiar Xue, free points. 1. Wide-eyed zombie, undead species. Level: 4th first stage, experience 0%. Growth ability is normal. Growth rate, 10.2%. Equipment: Bloody Rainbow Robe. Talents: physical and magical damage, reduction is low, super fast regeneration. Skills: bloodthirstiness, wild blood. Yolan thought about the upcoming changes and the entrance exams to the academy. He decided to hurry up and fight monsters to level up. He planned to call the teacher tomorrow and tell him he was sick. He went to bed under the light of the moon, which illuminated the mountains and trees. On the street near the house stood Xian, surrounded by 4 portals. She summoned a spiritual chain, its power illuminating everything with a purple glow. Xian thought, "This can't be. She can't lose everything." Suddenly, her father appeared from behind, calling her by her name, Xian. The girl turned around and met his gaze. Her father was surprised that she was still awake so late. Xian said she saw an evolved zombie. Father explained that zombies cannot evolve. He reminded her that the entrance exams were important, but she shouldn't overload herself. Xian took his advice and agreed. Her father told her to go to bed, and she obeyed. 3 days later, airships glided slowly across the sky. Yolin looked up, thinking about the events of the day ahead. Today was the day of the entrance exams to the academy. Excitement and anticipation were in the air along with the ships. The center of the city of heavenly lights, the mayor's residence, bathed in the light of heavenly lights. Airships raced across the sky, creating a lively atmosphere. Jinshi stood on the road, waiting for his friend to arrive, looking at the Spirit Subjugation Academy's airships. Mayor Sean Lincoln greeted the arrivals with a joyful smile, expressing long-awaited anticipation. The representative of the Green Dragon Academy, Liu Feng, apologized for the long wait. He was level 8, step 7. White Tiger Academy representative Bai Tong also apologized, confirming his readiness for the exam, level 7, step 7. The mayor commented on the difficulty of the road, which left the guests a little tired. The girl Ho Lin, level 7, step 7, came closer, introducing herself and explaining the purpose of her arrival. She was looking for a talented girl who had broken with her family, checking out rumors of her genius. The mayor responded to Madame Huo by noting Huo Xianer's talent among the youth of heavenly radiance. Hong Xiu, level 8, step 7, from the Redbird Academy, reminded that there was no longer any time to wait. The mayor suggested not to waste time and go to the examination field. The examination field was full of people. Noise and anticipation were in the air. Chengji looked for Yolin and shouted, trying to get his friend's attention. Yolin was unavailable for several days. Chengji could not contact him. He finally found him. Chengji shouted, scolding Yolin for his silence, remembering the rumor about his illness. Yolin came closer, answering that everything was fine, he was not late, and was ready for the exam. Yolin stood in the crowd and smiled, remembering the training of the last few days. He was sure that luck and preparation would help him today. Chengji noticed the change in him and asked why Yolin had changed so much. Yolin only answered mysteriously, hinting at the possibility of entering the elite Spirit Subjugation Academy. The people around him laughed, thinking he was weak and useless. The crowd discussed familiars and Yolin's level, doubting his chances. Yolin smiled calmly and said that after today, no one would laugh at him. Chengji thought about it, watching his friend's determination. The masters of the 4 great academies arrived at the examination field along with the mayor. The screen lit up, announcing the start of the entrance exams. Teachers appeared who closely monitored the candidates. The mayor noticed how active the candidates were this year and suggested starting quickly. The teacher announced the rules and repeated the key points of the exam. Yolin focused, preparing for the challenges and the upcoming battle for success. The entrance exam is divided into 2 rounds. The first is survival in the secret boundary. All examinees are teleported to the secret boundary and encounter first-level monsters. Each student must survive for 3 days fighting monsters. Those who pass the first round are admitted to the second. The second round is a battle between groups of students. The strongest win. The losers are distributed among the corresponding academies. The loser of the first round can only enter a low-level academy. The more rounds you pass, the higher the chance of entering an elite academy. The top 10 students have a chance to enter the top-tier Spirit Subjugation Academy. Even if no one makes it into the top 10, by passing the tour, you can get into a high-level academy. The teacher warned to act within one's strength. Heroism can cost one's life. Life is more precious than anything. If you die, there will be nothing left. The exam is full of unexpected dangers. You can only rely on yourself. Yolin thought that he wouldn't have to wait long. The system has issued a new task. Pass the first exam. Reward. Crystal of Spiritual Power 3. The secret boundary only contains first-tier monsters. Yolin thought it was easy to accomplish. In the front row, the participants noticed Huo Xian-er in a yellow dress. The girl tried to spot Yolin among the crowd, but did not find him. It is said that Xian-er is a shining talent. All the great academies came for her. People discussed the power of the Huo family. Yolin believed that today everyone would find out who was truly talented. The entrance exams have begun. The applicants froze, looking at the stage. The mayor opened the purple portal. The gates of the secret boundary are open. The first round of the test has officially begun. The teachers advised to take the best positions inside. Xian-er boldly walked into the portal first. The academy representative at the table admired Xian-er. Baitong and Liu Feng noticed an interesting last applicant, Yolin. Everyone noted the keen eyesight of teacher Baitun. But since admission should be based on academic performance, this is not so important. Yolin entered the portal last, considering the secret boundary a place for farming. The site included zones, volcanoes, sand desert, glaciers, and green rocks. Whirlpools formed in the water. The participants were randomly distributed among different areas. Some ended up in the forest. Others were surprised to find themselves sitting in water. The rest saw a desert in front of them. Yolin found himself on top of a mountain in a secret place. It was cold all around. He decided to summon a pet. Shui appeared in front of him, and they headed into the green forest. Yolin noticed that there was no applicant or monster around, which seemed strange. Something moved behind him. A steel-winged crow, a fourth-stage monster, appeared. But it was only a chick. Yolin covered his ears from her screams. Yolin ordered Shui to attack. She struck, and feathers scattered to the ground. The bird flew away, leaving Yolin to watch it. Yolin chuckled, noting the speed of the bird's flight, and regretted that Shui could not fly. Otherwise, she would not have been able to fly away. He decided that next time, he would try to catch a flying familiar. The bird rose above the rock and began to circle in the air. Yolin and Shui took refuge in a cave, considering it a safer place to survive for 3 days. After a while, they heard the croaking of an approaching crow. The bird continued to watch them, but did not attack yet. Yolin realized that he was the one being targeted, not Shui, and decided to devise a plan to lure the bird. He came out of the cave, gave the command to his pet to attack on signal, and began to push the crow towards the trap, watching her reaction. Yolin ran forward, and the bird pursued him, circling in the air and getting closer with every beat of its wings. After catching his breath, Yolin noticed that she was carefully checking the situation before attacking. Feathers flew down, anticipating danger. He activated the spiritual shield, and the feathers were unable to penetrate the defense. Realizing that the first stage shield might not be able to withstand the bird's strong beak, Yolin summoned a spiritual chain. A purple metal chain unfurled in the air, swirling around the crow, restricting its movements. The bird screamed and struggled, but the chain held it, and Yolin remained focused, preparing to finish the fight. Shui launched an attack while surrounded by a red magical glow. She jumped up and dealt a decisive blow to the bird, causing its head to fall to the ground. Yolin walked up, raised his head, and assessed the resources. They were high-level and expensive. They were useless to him for now, but the potential value was obvious. Several messages about the catch appeared on the screen. A feather, a claw, a beak, a neck, and also noted that they got an elite cut of steel-winged crows. Yolin noted that such resources are usually only available at 5-star restaurants and thought about the need to move up to the second level. He picked up the crow's carcass and informed Shui that they would feast today. Yolin then asked about the zombies' diet, whether they ate raw or cooked meat, or not at all. The girl pondered this as they entered the cave. The judges watched the screens that displayed Yolin and Shui. One of Ho's observers noted that this student was unusual. She didn't expect that a 4th-level first-stage steel-winged crow could be defeated so easily. Bai emphasized that for Heavenly Radiance, City to display such strength at such a young age was quite impressive, especially considering the rarity of the familiar. Hong noted that it was a pity that the Red Bird Academy only accepted girls. At that moment, a man approached the table with the data that the judges had requested. The mayor, watching the screen, remembered that class and was surprised, jumping up from his seat. He saw something on the status window that caused him amazement. The status window reflected the characteristics of the familiar, a white-eyed zombie. Ho jumped up from her seat, shocked by what she saw. The judges were surprised. How could it be that this student had a zombie as a familiar? They discussed among themselves, claiming that zombies were incapable of evolving and expressing bewilderment at their unusual characteristics. Bai, who was observing the situation, showed interest, and he decided that since this student was participating in the tests, he should take him under his observation in order to find out the whole truth about his familiar. The secret limit was indeed a promised land where only the cautious and prudent would survive. Only a fool would provoke a huge python with poisonous scales, Lu thought. Luvu sat on the concrete floor with a snake on his shoulder. He thought that he could live peacefully for 3 days if he hid with a black viper that would hide his scent. At night, the situation became especially dangerous. Many powerful monsters appeared. Luvu noticed smoke in the forest and thought that some idiot had started a fire. Despite his anxiety, he laughed quietly. Someone was definitely tired of living. There were 2 figures on the floor near the cave. Yolen ate the elite meat, enjoying every bite. Its elasticity and rich taste brought tears to his cheeks. Shui watched him with bewilderment. Suddenly she turned around and noticed the bushes from which red eyes flashed. Wolves jumped out of the dark foliage. Among them, a 7th-level first-stage Devil Wolf King stood out, surrounded by small gray wolves. Yolen realized the danger. Such an opponent could not be underestimated. The wolves began to approach, their fur shining in the moonlight, their breath breaking the silence of the night. The Devil Wolf King growled as he jumped up and headed straight for Yolen. Shui reacted instantly, swinging her arms, striking at the attacking wolves, repelling them from all sides. A red magical glow accompanied each of her blows, reflecting her desperate fight with the predators. The huge wolf, noticing Yolen, changed its trajectory and began to approach him directly, growling and jumping in the air. Yolen realized that all hope now lay with Shui. The tension grew, foreshadowing a brutal and dangerous battle. Shui reacted instantly, rushing towards the wolf's huge mouth and holding it with her hands. The small wolves were rapidly approaching, but Shui skillfully fought them off, striking them and throwing them aside. Her movements were flawless. She seemed invincible. The huge wolf growled. His left eye was wounded. He could hardly see anything. Yolen watched and thought that Shui's ability was really scary to the opponents. Despite this, the difference in strength was obvious. Shui was at the 9th level of the first stage, while the wolf was at the 7th. The wolf growled and lunged at Yolen, swinging its paw. But Shui intervened in time, delivering powerful blows to the enemy's neck. The wolf flew to the side, and Yolen approached him to examine the prey. The devil wolf's heart and the bloody darkness essence were exactly the resources needed for Shui's evolution. Yolen noted with a smile that the pet was getting closer to its next stage of development. Outside the exam area, the judges were discussing what was happening. They didn't understand what class Yolen was from, why he hadn't appeared before, and where he got his strength from. His familiar, a white-eyed zombie, caused surprise and fear. Some teachers were dumbfounded, not believing their eyes. Panic broke out on the field. Students were screaming, carrying away the wounded, and medics were rushing to provide assistance. Those who failed in the first round understood that their chances were now limited and felt disappointed. Teachers noted how cruel and dangerous this exam was. The longer the applicant could endure it in the secret confines, the higher his chance of admission. The huge screen showed Yolen and his familiar, causing lively discussions among the audience. The people at the stadium didn't understand what was happening and were surprised by his strength and zombie abilities. The judges exchanged remarks, trying to understand who this student was and wanted to attract him to their academies. The girls discussed the familiar's unusual abilities and its high attack with a poisonous effect. The mayor called for patience, reminding everyone that the test was not yet over, and continued to watch what was happening in the secret limit with a smile. The entire cave was covered in the Wolf King's blood, and Yolen realized that this would surely attract other monsters. He decided to find a safer place and went forward. Shui noticed the changes around him and warned him. A huge python with poisonous scales, level 9, first stage, appeared in front of them, chasing the student. He screamed and tried to run away, but the snake was getting closer and closer. Yolen recognized the running student as Luva, who was trying to save himself in a panic. The python began to release venom and Luvu fell to the ground, begging for help. Yolen noticed that Luvu recognized him, and he realized that if he didn't pass, he would take Yolen with him. Luvu screamed and jumped, pressed the red button of emergency teleportation. There was a powerful flash, illuminating the surrounding space. A portal suddenly opened on the examination field, and Luvu tumbled out, screaming and continuing to fight for his life. Luvu sat on the field, clutching his wound. A man stood nearby, offering to help, but Luvu categorically refused and insisted on staying to watch what was happening. His gaze was fixed on the screen where Yolin was shown. Luvu was commenting on what was happening with obvious irritation and envy, preparing to watch Yolin's defeat. A huge python of the 9th level of the first stage appeared on the screen. Its poisonous scales looked menacing. The judges and observers were confused. Some doubted that Yolin would be able to cope with such a dangerous opponent, noting that the python was significantly stronger than the steel-winged crow he had killed earlier. The judges began betting. Bai placed a large bet on Yolin to win. Lu accepted an even bet, assuming that he would simply run away. Hong supported the escape, and Ho's mentor predicted that he would either be expelled or die. The atmosphere around the exam became tense, and the anticipation of Yolin's action became the center of attention for everyone present. The judges commented on what was happening with obvious admiration and alarm, calling the situation insidious. Mayor Shan decided not to interfere, simply wanting to see how the applicants would do. Yolin understood that directly attacking a level 1 spiritual power python would not be effective, and judged that the only chance was to strengthen his skills. He opened the system dialog box, activating the 2nd level spiritual goal. This skill required 300 units of spiritual energy and allowed the release of spiritual power capable of binding monsters up to and including level 2. The duration of the restraint depended on the enemy's level, making the skill critical to use when fighting a high-level python. Yolin prepared to use the skill strategically, knowing that his chance of survival and success in the exam depended on it. Yolin assessed his capabilities. After raising his skill level, his spiritual energy consumption had doubled. Therefore, at full energy, he could only use the spiritual chain 3 times. The python prepared to attack by releasing poisonous mucus. Yolin knew that he had to choose the right moment to use the skill. Otherwise, the attempt could prove fatal. He waited, watching the monster's movements and calculating the optimal strategy. Yolin watched over Shui, giving her instructions to dodge the poison released by the python. Shui reacted instantly, jumping up and attacking the monster. Yolin noted her unusual strength and precision of movement. The girl dodged the poison attack. Suddenly, the python started releasing a poisonous mist. It was necessary to finish quickly. He himself used a spiritual chain that wrapped around the python's body, causing it to hiss and restricting its movements. Shui took advantage of the moment, jumped up, and delivered a powerful blow, accompanied by a red pillar of power that struck the python. The monster collapsed to the ground, completely defeated. Yolin appreciated the effectiveness of their combined efforts and Shui's strength, realizing that they had dealt with a dangerous opponent. There were cries of amazement and indignation on the training field. Luwu was outraged, not believing that Yolin was able to defeat a python with poisonous scales. And the judges watched the screen in amazement, recording his use of the 2nd level spiritual chain. They commented on the incredible skill and speed of mastering the skill in less than 6 months. The mayor wondered how he could have missed such an outstanding student. There were arguments and bets among the judges and spectators. Some were happy about winning 50,000. Others tried to justify themselves, not believing their eyes. Ho, who was watching the scene, realized that a rare talent like Yolin only came along once in 100 years and decided to notify the director, to offer him the best conditions and not miss such an opportunity. Near the python's corpse, Yolin carefully examined the remaining resources: poisonous scales and gallbladder. These were valuable high-level materials for evolution. He assessed Shui's progress. Her strength had increased to 94.7%, and there was only a little left until the maximum level of the first stage, level 10. Yolin wondered where he could find more suitable monsters to train and obtain resources. At that moment, a sound was heard from behind, the howl of a demonic wolf, and Yolin immediately realized that there was a new danger ahead. In the forest, Xian, together with Kang Long, found herself surrounded by a pack of demonic wolves. Their numbers gave the enemy a numerical advantage, even though the Wolf King's level matched that of the dragon. The 8th level first stage king charged forward, letting out a threatening howl. The dragon defended himself, fighting off the wolf attacks, but the wolves continued to bite and press on him. Changlong used the power of intimidation to try to hold back the pack's attack, but he clearly lacked speed. Xian realized that they couldn't cope without leaving the battle and jumped onto the dragon, giving the command to retreat. The dragon soared into the air, but the Wolf King managed to bite him in mid-flight. Xian was worried about Changlong's condition, fearing that they might die before the first round was completed. The dragon continued to fight the king, using all his strength to protect Xian and retreat to safety. Xian and Changlong were forced to land to fend off the attacking wolves. Despite the threat, Xian knew she couldn't let her dragon die. The wolves continued to attack furiously, tearing into them, when suddenly a red glow appeared, throwing back the aggressors. Xian realized that Yolin was nearby with his familiar. Yolin came closer, noticing the dragon's severe injury, and Xian looked at him in surprise. The judges watched the proceedings closely. Bai noted that perhaps the talent that Ho had come to see was not so lucky, and that she might even need emergency teleportation. Mentor Ho tried to remain calm, insisting that this was not the end. Bai thought that if he were Yolin, he wouldn't help, because the more participants there are in the exam, the higher the competition. Yolin ordered Shui to use wild blood and attack the wolves in preparation for a fight with the approaching Wolf King. The girl moved into battle with force, repelling the attacks of her opponents. The king jumped at her, but Shui dealt with the threat, and the wolf fell to the ground, destroyed. Xian, watching what was happening, was amazed by Yolin's strength. In just a month, he became so strong and also saved her dragon. Xian wondered why Yolin didn't pay attention to her even though she was the beauty of the school. As he approached the slain Wolf King, she appreciated his deed and thanked him, standing at the top. Yolin warned her that the smell of blood would attract other monsters and that it was dangerous to stay here. Xian noticed his concern and offered to go together, but Yolin doubted that she would be too much trouble. He also knew that leaving Xian with the wounded Changlong was dangerous. Xian decided to ease his worries by promising to reward him after the first round of exams, offering 100,000. Yolin thought about Xian's offer. 100,000 federal points would allow him to acquire quite a few resources for Shui's evolution, which was a strong argument. He agreed to accept the sum, understanding its practical benefits. Xian was surprised that he agreed to take the money so easily, and in her heart, she felt that she was losing her reputation as the first beauty. When Yolin raised his hand, Xian thought that he might want to pull her in to protect her from the dangers of battle, given the injury to her dragon Changlong. Yolin demanded a card with 100,000 points, explaining that he was thus formally recording the agreement. Xian was slightly annoyed and, at the same time, surprised. How could she take such a sum with her, especially considering that she was going to the exam and did not expect to spend so many points? She assured Yolin that after leaving the secret limit she would return the funds to him, emphasizing that the result and success of the exit were still unknown. Yolin suddenly handed Xian a document to sign, demanding that she put her fingerprint to seal the agreement. Xian was surprised by such a direct approach and thought to herself that he was a real boor, but at the same time he acted decisively. She didn't hesitate for a moment, but still signed the contract, returning it back to Yolin. The contract formally secured her obligation to pay Yolin 100,000 federal points after completing the first round of the exam. Yolin confirmed the agreement and promised to protect her until the end of the day, thereby removing any doubts about his willingness to help. The situation ended in mutual agreement, and now their cooperation was formalized. Yolin stood nearby, smiling, watching Xian. She came over and said that everything was fine, after which he focused on collecting resources from the corpse of the wolf he had killed. The plan was to first gather the necessary materials to evolve the familiar, and then head to a safer place, where one could restore strength and continue advancing along the secret boundary. On the field, everyone was watching the big screen, which showed Yolin and Xian. The judges and the spectators were discussing what was happening. While some were surprised by Yolin's unexpected strength, Bai admitted that the girl was indeed lucky to have met him in time. His appearance changed the course of events, and Yolin's familiar impressed everyone with its power. The mayor laughed, noting that even the representatives of the 4 great academies were clearly surprised. Red Bird Academy representative Hong noted that although her academy usually only accepts girls, they were willing to make an exception for Yolin. This left Ho slightly surprised, but Hong explained that it was a fair fight, and she was simply using every advantage she had. At the same time, everyone noticed Yolin's limited resources. He had few federal points, he was not from an influential family, and his level was only second level of Step 1. The judges could not believe their eyes. Such an ordinary student was able to demonstrate such power and influence on the events of the exam. Yolin sat under a tree, resting, and Xian watched him, trying to understand how he became so strong. She was interested in his familiar, who was clearly different from the usual zombies. Yolin decided not to reveal all the secrets. He only explained that Shui was a mutated zombie, and that if he revealed the system that allowed zombies to evolve, it would cause a scandal throughout the Federation. Xian's conversation was accompanied by a light game. She offered 5,000 if he would tell about himself. Yolin happily agreed, but remained reserved on the details, realizing that this power was too unusual to share without caution. Yolin decided to remain silent, keeping the secrets of his power to himself. Xian noted that his familiar was a mutated zombie and praised his strength. She tried to look at Shui and was surprised at how unusual and beautiful his familiar was. Noticing Yolin's high level, the 9th level of the first stage, Xian guessed that he would be able to enter a top academy without any problems. She asked which academy he had chosen, to which Yolin replied that he hadn't thought about it yet, and jokingly said that perhaps one where there were a lot of beautiful girls. Xian was surprised by his directness and thought to herself that he was a dog. Yolin chuckled. Realizing that Huo Xian had rested and eaten, Yolin decided to move on, which surprised Xian, who thought it would be better to wait until the exam was over. Yolin decided not to wait until the exam was over. Almost all the applicants were hiding and resting, giving him the perfect opportunity to hunt and level up. He realized that he couldn't miss such a chance. He called Jue, and they went ahead. Xian stood up after them, judging him as crazy, but at the same time knowing that it was safer to be with him. All this time, they were watched by monsters hidden in the forest. Their eyes glowed red. They were 7th level first stage devil monkeys ready to attack. The monkeys began to attack. Yolin smiled, seeing them. 2 devil monkeys at the same time, he exclaimed, admiring the power of the situation. He ordered Shui to attack. The girl instantly activated her abilities, dealing deadly blows, scattering opponents. Xian watched this with surprise, noting how strong and handsome the familiar was, accompanying Yolin, realizing how lucky he was. Yolin urged Shui to finish the fight faster, and she continued to attack without hesitation, hitting the monkeys with one precise blow after another. At dawn, Yolin and Xian watched the dialogue windows. The exam was finally over, and notifications appeared on the screen. Both successfully passed the first round of entrance examinations. Xian thanked Yolin for his help, admitting that she couldn't have done it without him. Yolin calmly noted that he acted for the sake of federal points. 100,000 plus 5 on top. Xian assured him that she would definitely fulfill her promise and give him the money the next day. After the first round was completed, it became known that 403 people were disqualified and 75 participants died. On the field, one of the girls was crying, admitting that she was just a little short of passing. Yolin noticed Chenji, who congratulated him on successfully passing the tour. Chenji noted that there was not a single scratch on Yolin. Apparently, he had quickly overcome the test by escaping. Yolin only smiled in response, understanding his words that the main thing was to remain unharmed, even if someone was disqualified. After the first round ended, Yolin suddenly smiled and laughed, saying that he had passed, surprising Chenji, who had not expected his success. The mayor himself came down to the participants, congratulated everyone on completing the tour, and reminded them that the second tour would begin tomorrow, advising them to have a good rest. Everyone was surprised that the mayor was personally watching Lekentian. He turned out to be among the best students of the academy. Li Shantian, the son of the head of the family from the city of Heavenly Radiance, approached him and was greeted by the mayor and conveyed his greetings to his father. The mayor wished Li Shantian a good rest and preparation for tomorrow's exam. The mayor approached Yolin and greeted him briefly, advising him to rest and prepare for tomorrow's exam. Yolin explained to his friend that he did not know the mayor personally. Chenji was advised to go to the infirmary because of his wounds, and Yolin himself, tired, decided to rest a little. People around were surprised. Why did the mayor pay attention to him? Because he has an ordinary familiar, a zombie. Li Shengchan noted that he would carefully test Yolin's strength in the second round tomorrow. Night had fallen, and the moonlight was softly falling on the streets. A warm light was burning in Yolin's house, filling the room with a cozy atmosphere. He sat down on the sofa, feeling the fatigue that came from long hours of fighting and training. His thoughts revolved around what had happened. Without activating the system, he simply would not have had a chance to pass the first round of the exam and get into the academy. Gratitude for this support was mixed with fatigue, and Yolin allowed himself to relax for a moment. Yolin thought about it. He had recently collected a lot of valuable resources that could be sold profitably on the internet. Suddenly, federal glasses from Jian appeared on the screen. With them, it became easy to acquire everything necessary for the evolution of Zhui. He carefully studied the numbers and possibilities, thinking about how to most effectively use the new means to pump up the familiar. Yolin opened Shui's status window. He saw Shui, a white-eyed zombie, an undead species. Her level is 9th, first stage, with 99.4% experience. Growth ability is normal. Growth rate is 68.7%. The equipment was selected especially for her, the Bloody Rainbows outfit. Talents included medium physical and magic damage reduction, silver regeneration, and blood spray. Skills included bloodlust and feral blood. Of the tasks, the first one, automatically taken, was not completed. The second one, to pass the first round of exams, was completed, for which she received 3 spirit crystals. Yolin thought about passing the first round of exams and noticed that he had received 3 spirit crystals. A message appeared. The spirit crystal contains spiritual energy. When you spend the spirit crystal, you will receive 500 spiritual points. Yolin realized that 1 crystal gives 500 points, so 3 crystals will give him 1,500 spiritual points. Yolin opened the status window and carefully examined the characteristics. His level is 9th first stage. Spiritual powers showed 900 out of 900, to which another 1,200 points were added for spirit crystals. Among his spiritual skills, he had the second-level spiritual chain, the first-level spiritual shield, and the first-level spiritual vision. In the familiar section, there was a white-eyed zombie. The free points were 2,500 plus his own 900, but in total he had 2,400 points. Yolin thought, being at the first stage of Spirit Conqueror, the maximum points are 1,000, and only by rising to the second stage, he will be able to increase this limit. Yolin looked closely at his 2,400 points and realized that among the Academy students, there was no one with a Tier 2 familiar, which gave him a significant advantage. He realized that the second round of exams would probably be relatively easy for him, too. After an evening of hunting, he felt very hungry. Realizing that he had so many federal points, Yolin decided to eat well as a reward for his work. He thought that Chen should also be fed after a busy day. Then he glanced at the dialogue box and saw Jian's contact. He was a little surprised, remembering that it was she who had awarded him such generous points, and decided to show her his gratitude. Xian was taking a bath when her watch rang. She picked up the phone and heard Yolin's voice, who suggested that she go out to eat with him and Shui. Xian was delighted and agreed, specifying the time and place of the meeting. 1300 on Dazzling Street. Yolin confirmed the details and suddenly hung up. Xian was surprised and a little angry at him for such an act, thinking that she would still remember this to him. Chenji and Yolin stood at the door of the building, surprised by the location they had chosen. Yolin explained that they were celebrating the passing of the first round of the exam, and he reminded Chenji to have some refreshment after his injuries. He added that another person would join soon. Soon, a car pulled up, the doors opened, and Jian appeared. Yolin smiled at the sight of her, but Chenji was shocked. Yolin introduced Chenji Xianer to each other, and they greeted each other. Yolin suggested that they all go inside, noting that he was hungry. People outside the building greeted the guests, and a few minutes later, they were already sitting at a table full of various dishes. Chenji was amazed by the level of the restaurant, and Yolin invited him to eat as much as he wanted, and noted that he would not forget to thank Xian. Xian replied that she was glad to be his friend, and Yolin sincerely thanked her. Genji was a little confused and asked Yolin what they were talking about, but he decided not to figure it out and immediately started eating. Xian also announced that she was ready to eat, and everyone began to eat dinner. Meanwhile, the affairs of the Liu family in Heavenly Radiance City were being discussed around them. Liu had no chance of entering the Spirit Subjugation Academy, so he couldn't take the place of the young master of the family. Subordinates insisted that, given that the transfer of power should not be based on kinship, but on merit, the position should go to one of the young talents. The elder of the Liu Yun family interrupted the argument, declaring that the decision had been made. Liu knelt down, admitting his own helplessness and failure. The elder reminded that due to the events in the secret realm, the position of the young master of the family would be given to another, more worthy young talent, and not Liu. Liu was amazed by the elder's determination and wisdom and began to realize that he would lose all privileges. He angrily shouted at Yolan, threatening to take his life, expressing his anger and despair. On the second day of the examination field, all participants gathered. Yolan received a warning from Chenji. There was a duel in the second round, and he had to be careful, especially considering the strength of his zombie. Yolan reassured his friend, promising to act carefully. The mayor's voice rang out over the field. He congratulated all the participants on advancing to the next round, and he reminded that today in the duel everyone will be able to show their abilities and secure their place in the ranking. Representatives from the academies were invited to observe the tests. The start of the second stage, the random duel, was officially announced, and the participants began to prepare for battle. Yolan carefully read the rules of the duel. If the opponent admits defeat, cannot continue the fight, or is thrown out of the ring, he is automatically considered the loser, and his place in the ranking is determined by the time of the loss. It is forbidden to strike when the opponent is no longer able to resist. This threatens disqualification. Despite this, every year there were cases where someone received serious injuries. The mayor announced the start of the duel, and Yolan was surprised to see that he had been chosen for the first round. A list of fights appeared on the screen. Ring 1, He Fei vs. Chen Zhi. Ring 2, Li Shengtian vs. Feng Wu. Ring 3, Ma Xiaojian vs. Tai Shan. Ring 4, Yolan vs. Tian Chen. Yolan knew he was in for a tough test. Each victory brought an additional 10% to his current experience. Being in the top 10 gave 2 spirit crystals. Being in the top 10 gave a physical boost. Getting into the top 5 gave plus 10% to the current growth rate. A place in the top 3 earned a familiar egg, which could be gifted to any familiar. First place allowed one to receive a talent, which could also be transferred to any familiar. Yolan realized that the stakes were extremely high. Every fight directly impacted his and Shui's development, and the maximum rewards required reaching the top of the tournament rankings. Yolan entered ring number 4, feeling the tension and the pressure of time. The judge made sure that no one hesitated, otherwise they would be disqualified. He carefully assessed his opponent, who was already standing in the ring, and called out his familiar, a one-horned rhinoceros. Yolan summoned Shui, and the crowd noticed that before them was a familiar of extraordinary beauty emerging from the seal. The audience was amazed, whispering about its uniqueness and strength. Yolan concentrated on the upcoming duel, realizing that it would be a serious test for him and Shui. The judges were discussing. Yolan called out Shui, and immediately the entire ring and the spectators paid attention. Shui's beauty and uniqueness aroused envy and admiration in everyone present. Tian Chen's opponent and his familiar, the one-horned rhinoceros, were angry. The rhinoceros immediately rushed to attack, demonstrating strength and aggression. Yolan ordered Shui to act without mercy, indicating that he wanted to test the full power of his familiar. Shui responded to the attack with lightning speed, engaging in combat with the rhinoceros. The crowd watched as the familiars clashed in midair, and no one expected a human familiar to be able to withstand a beast of that size. Shui grabbed the rhinoceros by the horn, lifted it into the air as if it were a toy, and threw it forcefully out of the ring. The spectators screamed and were amazed. They had never seen such power. People could not believe that a familiar in human form could surpass a beast with the natural strength of a rhinoceros. The judge officially announced the outcome of the 4th ring. The first round is over. Yolan wins. Yolan advances further, and Tian Chen is eliminated, and his result is recorded in the ranking. Chen was stunned and did not understand how this was possible, considering Yolin behind. Yolin thought about it and reminded that no one stays behind forever. The main thing is to try, and sooner or later, your day will come. Notifications about the results of the second round appeared. Yolin defeated one opponent and received an additional 10% to the current experience. Familiar Shui has reached the maximum amount of experience points. The level has increased to 10. The first stage, with 9.4% experience at the next level. 3 points were awarded. 1. The familiar glowed with a golden glow, marking the increase in level. The results of the second round continued to come in. Li Shentian won in ring number 2. Chen Qiji won in ring number 1, and Ma Xiaotian won in ring number 3. Yolin noticed that Shui had reached level 10 of the first stage. With each level up, the familiar strengthens its spirit subjugator's body. Now, with Shui at level 10, one more level will allow Yolin to make a contract with a second familiar. Chen Qiji, covered in bruises, approached Yolin. Yolin asked if he was okay, noting that after such a fight, it would be difficult for him in the next round. Chen Qiji replied that he could handle it, and only noted that much would depend on the next opponent and his condition after the fight. The judges announced that the first round of competition had concluded, and now the focus was on the youth of all the clans in Sky Radiance City. They noted that many participants showed good results. The judges explained that the ability for clan scions to directly enter elite academies depends on how often they have participated in the secret limit. Ho stressed the importance of experience and preparation, while Hong added that the situation becomes more tense and violent as they progress. Next, the second round of the duel was announced, where the participants will fight for 21 places, and the process of selecting pairs for the next fights began. The list of pairings for the second round appeared on the screen. In ring number 1, Yolin will face Feng Haotian. In number 2, Huo Xianer will face Ma Xiaoqian. In number 3, Li Shengtian will face Zhang Shengnan. And in number 4, Chen Ji will face Luo Chen. Yolin advised Luo Chen not to push himself too hard, reminding him that he had already passed the first round. Chen Ji supported Yulin, noting that he was now a big dark horse. Yulin noted that Feng Haotian from the second-class clan should not be underestimated. Feng Haotian appeared in the ring and arrogantly noted that Yolin had done well in the last round, but was still too weak. He advised surrendering immediately to avoid serious injuries. Yolin replied that it was too early to draw conclusions about the winner and that the outcome could only be determined in combat. The spectators in the stands watched the fight with concentration, and the head of the Feng family noted that Hao Tian was lucky because he did not get an opponent from the 3 great clans, which almost guaranteed his victory. Feng activated his familiar, and a blue bird flew into the ring. He immediately jumped on it, showing confidence and warning that it was too late to ask for mercy. Yolin summoned Xiao, his familiar, who was flying and very tenacious. Yolin gave the order to wait for the right moment to attack, and Xiao prepared to fight. Feng's bluebird launched an attack, flapping its wings and releasing its feathers like deadly weapons. Yolin noticed the enemy's strategy and activated his defensive skill, Spiritual Shield, in time, blocking the attack. The spectators watched the fight, discussing what was happening. A tense scene unfolded as Yolin ordered Shui to activate the blood mist, and the entire ring turned red. Feng's bluebird tried to disperse the fog, but Yolin used a second-level magic chain that wrapped around the enemy's familiar, depriving it of maneuverability. Feng, in a panic and rage, tried to do something, but Shui, following Yolin's instructions, approached him, ready to deliver the decisive blow. Yolin watched the situation with a smile, confident that the chain's abilities would leave no chance for Feng to escape, ordering his familiar to descend. The chief jumped up from his seat, shouting his son's name. The judge declared Yolin's victory. Feng's bluebird lay defeated on the ground along with its owner, demonstrating Yolin's complete control over the fight. A message appeared on the screen stating that in the second round of the Spirit Conquest Trials, Yolin defeated his opponent and received an additional 10% to his current experience. Familiar Xiaoye increased his experience level from 9.4% to 19.4%, and Yolin smiled as he watched the result of his strategy. The audience admired Yolin's courage. People discussed him as a dark horse, Noting that even though he was only at the first stage, he dared to fight a flying familiar. I noted that with a slightly larger time difference, Yolin might have lost. But Ho suggested that this was part of his plan. She noted that he had raised the level of his spiritual chain in advance to be prepared for the encounter with the flying familiars. The crowd was perplexed and waited for the fights to continue to see how it would end. Yolin watched the list of pairs for the third round, realizing that getting into the top 20 was easier than expected. Among the rivals, he noticed the daughter of the Yun family and realized that if she didn't have a flying familiar, then he had no reason to worry. Mentally preparing for the upcoming duels, he planned his actions, assessing the strength of future opponents and the capabilities of familiars. Shui instantly responded to Yolin's command by summoning an ice bear. The bear, who possessed innate ice magic, attacked powerfully, trying to freeze Yolin's familiar. Shui confidently dodged using her speed and agility, which surprised Yunyi. The spectators watched the clash with admiration. Shui's incredible speed and precision against the ice bear's forces looked mesmerizing. Yolin remained focused, adjusting his familiar's actions and preparing for the next step in the duel. An icy wave crashed into the arena with a roar, causing the audience to jump from their seats. Yolin's spiritual shield flared up, barely able to withstand the onslaught. Thin cracks crept across its surface, but it still protected its owner from a direct blow. Meanwhile, Shui, like a bloody whirlwind, rushed towards the ice bear and brought down a series of rapid blows on its muzzle. The heavy beast roared, staggered, and tried to swipe its paw, but Shui dodged, striking again. Yunyi frowned. Her familiar, although strong, clearly couldn't keep up with Shui's speed. The audience began to buzz, discussing that Yolin's human familiar possessed incredible agility and power that was difficult to explain. Yolin watched the battle tensely. He knew that if he didn't turn the tide now, the bear's ice magic would eventually overwhelm them. The chains released by Yunyi wrapped around Shui's body, but she didn't even move. Familiar Yolina stood right on the ice bear's back, and there was no tension on her face. Yunyi pulled the spiritual chain with force, expecting the enemy to be pulled down and fall to the ground. But Sui remained motionless, as if the chains did not exist at all. Yunyi looked at her in confusion, unable to understand why the familiar did not move under the effect of her skill. Surprise flashed in her eyes. She could not pull Shui. Yolin chuckled and noticed that Yunyi's spiritual chain simply lacked a level. After that, he ordered Shui to finish the fight. The familiar obediently jumped off the bear's back and moved forward, ready to deliver the finishing blow. Shui grabbed the ice bear's lifeless body by its skin and easily threw it into the air. The beast's enormous body, which only dozens of people could lift alone, rose up like a feather. Yunyi couldn't help but be astonished in confusion. She couldn't believe her eyes. Her familiar was thrown with bare hands. It was incomprehensible to her. The thought flashed through my mind. Yolin's familiar was not just a humanoid, it was a real predator, created to suppress enemies. The bear fell out of the arena, hitting the ground with a thud that shook the entire ring. The judge raised his hand and loudly announced, "The winner is Yolin." The stands exploded with noise. Many were outraged, shouting that the heiress of the Yun family had lost to some insignificant student, that such a thing simply could not happen. But the head of the Yun family stood up from his seat and said in a reserved manner that Yunyi had shown herself to be worthy. But fate had brought her into contact with an incredibly strong opponent. If it had been their student, things might have ended even worse. The people around agreed that Yolin's familiar was frighteningly strong, a true predator in human form. Yunyi held back her excitement as she stood up after her defeat. She admitted that she never thought she would lose so quickly and so hard. But there was a firmness in her voice. She was not going to give up and would wait for Yolin's next performance. New notifications appeared on the screen. The system recorded the victory, adding 10% experience to Yolin. And then she reported that he entered the top 10 of the rating. For this, he received a special reward: body enhancement. Yolin didn't immediately understand what exactly had happened. Body enhancement flashed through his mind. At that very moment, everything became clear. The pain and fatigue disappeared, the muscles were filled with strength, breathing became easy, and the body seemed renewed. The loading bar flashed: 99%, 100%. and the process was complete. A notification about the completed enhancement appeared on the screen. The referee announced the start of the semifinals and announced that the duelists should proceed to their designated arenas as the fights were about to begin. A list of pairs appeared on the screen, and the crowd fell silent in anticipation. Yolin looked at the chart carefully. His attention was drawn to MANHUA, a name that had been rumored. Many considered him one of the strongest participants. However, Yolin noted that at this stage, the opponent does not pose a direct threat. Pairs: Ring 1, Chen Shennian versus Luo Chen. Ring 2, Huo Xian are versus Hui Xiu. Ring 3, Ye Ling versus Meng Yue. Ring 4, Li Sheng versus Zhang Huangxun. The atmosphere in the arena was tense, with spectators anticipating intense fights and the competitors concentrating before entering the ring. The participants began to enter the arena one by one. The crowd was noisy, welcoming the duelists, but when Meng Yue appeared, the buzz died down, replaced by intense attention. He moved confidently, his steps echoing around the ring. He raised his hand, releasing streams of thick black energy. The waves swirled around him, and his familiar materialized from them. Yolin narrowed his eyes. His gaze immediately caught the peculiarity. Meng Yue's familiar was an undead creature. This unexpectedness made him wary. He quickly summoned Xue, who appeared next to him. Her figure lit up with a faint crimson glow. She took up a fighting stance, ready to face the enemy. The referee loudly announced the start of the competition, and a wave of tense anticipation swept through the arena. Meng Yue's familiar, an undead knight, instantly charged forward, raising his heavy sword to attack. Yolin immediately grasped the enemy's intentions and noted that he expected to gain the upper hand in close combat. But Yolin had no fear of hand-to-hand combat. He ordered Xue to first attack the spiritual shield and then switch the attack to the familiar itself. He did not plan for a long struggle. He understood that defeating Meng Yue would lead directly to victory. Xue charged. The knight raised his sword and prepared to deliver a crushing blow. But at that moment, Yolin's magic chain appeared out of thin air. She quickly wrapped herself around the familiar's body and restrained its movements. The spectators gasped. Even Meng Yue did not understand how his undead had become restrained. His eyes widened in surprise. He didn't believe that someone's spiritual chain was capable of restraining his familiar. Meanwhile, Xue took advantage of the confusion. She jumped high into the air, described an arc in the air, and appeared right behind her opponent. The surprise of the attack did its job. Realizing that he could no longer continue the fight, Meng Yue sank to his knees, his voice muffled and strangled as he admitted defeat. The victory over Meng Yue secured a place in the semifinals, while the loser retained his position in the rankings. There were cries of surprise and admiration among the spectators and clan representatives. The Li family patriarch indignantly noted that the fight was over in just 2 minutes, and the outcome was decided by one precise blow. In the arena, Yolin noticed a girl approaching him, but her expression was tense and cold. He asked her name, and she told him to stay away from Jian, not to reveal herself, and then ran away. Yolin noted her strangeness and decided to keep his distance. The semifinals began, and the pairings appeared on the screen. Ring 1, Yolin versus Li Shentian. Ring 2, Huo Xian versus Zhang Shennan. Hong, watching what was happening, noted that with each round the tension and interest only grew. Li Shentian, the son of the head of the powerful Li family, confidently entered the arena, demonstrating his strength and experience. He acknowledged that Yolin had done well, but stressed that meeting him was an extremely unfortunate coincidence for an opponent. Yolin realized that the upcoming fight would be much more difficult than the previous one, and prepared for battle, assessing the capabilities of his familiar and his own skills. Yolin, having summoned Xue, watched the battle. A huge stone general, Li Shentian, appeared in the arena, ready to attack. Yolin noted that the enemy had a stone familiar, so sucking out life force would not work. The referee announced the start of the duel. Li Shentian ordered the stone general to build a stone prison around him, assuring that Xue's elemental attacks would not be able to destroy it. Yolin realized that such a move could be risky for the general, but at the same time, effective. Despite the potential danger, he knew that Li Shentian was the son of one of the three great clans and could not be underestimated. The Stone General, under Li Shentian's command, rushed to attack, ready to show off his full strength. The Stone General fired a stone arrow, and Yolin dodged it, gauging his opponent's strength. He activated a spiritual chain that attempted to wrap itself around the golem, but the amount of its power was too great, and it was unable to be moved. Yolin ordered Shui to be careful. Shui attacked, but the stone golem's defense was so strong that it could not suck out life force. Yolin was looking for a solution to break through the defense. At this moment, the chain suddenly broke right on the general, and Yolin immediately warned Shui to be careful. Shui jumped above the stone general, displaying incredible speed and strength. The spectators were amazed. Such a beautiful familiar could fight so effectively. Many dreamed of something like this. Li Shentian looked calm, but his familiar was hiding a deadly power. The stone general suddenly began to transform. His body exploded, and stones flew out in all directions. And in place of the old form, a huge robot appeared. The result of Li Shentian's ability. Yolin realized that the enemy was hiding this trick, making the general faster, stronger, and more dangerous. Shui was ordered to test the powers of her new form. The familiar charged, fists met the general, and a flash occurred. The stone general was thrown back, his arm cracked, and the spectators were amazed. His strength was incredible, but Hui maintained the advantage. Yolin ordered the duel to end, and Shui delivered a precise blow to the robot's face, sending it flying and holding it above the ground, demonstrating her control of the fight. As the stone general fell back, Shui delivered several more precise strikes, causing a massive explosion. Li Shentian screamed in his stone prison, demanding that the familiar be finished off, but it had already been completely suppressed and pinned to the ground. The audience couldn't believe it. No one had ever shown such incredible strength and skill. The crowd discussed what was happening. Yolin was indeed the top student in the school, but for some reason, he had seemed to be lagging behind before. Perhaps he deliberately hid his abilities until the decisive moment. Everyone was amazed by Yue's beauty and strength, envied and admired her skills. Judge Liu noted that Yolin's familiar had reached level 10 of the first stage, a rare occurrence for such a young disciple. This year's tests have shown many powerful abilities, and Yolin's appearance has become a real sensation. In the end, Yolin was officially declared the winner of the duel, which confirmed his incredible talent and power as a familiar. Yolin received a message about being in the top 3 and getting a flying familiar egg. He was pleased, anticipating the appearance of a new familiar. At the same time, a notification appeared about receiving additional experience, another 10% for defeating an opponent. Yolin looked at the arena where Huo Xian was fighting another student. Nan was controlling a huge flying bird, dodging the attacks of her opponent's dragon. Chen kept Kang Long in check, carefully guiding him while trying to avoid getting into a dangerous situation. Despite the difficulties, Nan was determined to pass the test, giving commands to her familiar to create hurricanes and use eagle attacks. Whirlwinds of magical energy swirled in the sky, and the opponent's dragon was almost trapped. Yolin watched this, amazed by Chang Shengnan's strength, and wondering if Huo Xian would be able to hold his own in the fight. Huo Xian's dragon, Kang Long, suddenly fell into the arena, and the referee declared Chang Shengnan the winner. Xian hung her head and burst into tears, admitting defeat. Her father consoled her, reminding her that it was okay to lose from time to time, and that she had already done well. Meanwhile, the final was announced. Yolin noticed Xian in the arena. Their eyes met. He thought about how to help her regain victory and prepared for the final. The judge announced that the winner would receive an award from the school principal and the mayor, which sparked a lively discussion among the students. Many bet on Yolin and his familiar, Shui. Yolin ordered Shui to prepare for the final round. A familiar appeared, the Hawk King of the Vortex, a huge flying bird. Its strength was noticeably higher than that of the previous familiars, and it had already managed to evolve. The Hawk King of the Vortex rose into the air and created a powerful hurricane that engulfed the arena and Shui. Yolin activated his spiritual shield, trying to protect his familiar. He understood that the wind was incredibly strong and urged Shui to use all of his abilities to come up with a way to counterattack. The final battle was intense, with the Hawk King of the Vortex accelerating through the air, releasing high-speed wind projectiles. The judges noted that the level of testing was significantly higher this year, and the evolution of familiars added to the difficulty. Some believed that the bird would win. Others were not so sure. Bai noted the student's hot temper. Yolan relied completely on Zui, and she acted with precision and determination. Clouds of smoke obscured the arena, and the public could not see what was happening. When the smoke cleared, Nan saw Shui in front of her, who grabbed her by the throat. Shui dodged the high-speed projectiles and attacked the enemy directly. Nan was forced to her knees, admitting defeat. The mayor, who watched the final, was impressed. Dodging a powerful attack and immediately counterattacking was a clever and bold move. The judges and spectators noted that the final ended incredibly quickly and efficiently. Teacher Ho nodded approvingly, acknowledging the intelligence and courage of Yeolin and his familiar, while Hong only sighed. Liu noted that their academy also wants to get Yeolin. The duel is over. The second stage of the test is finally over, the mayor said. Second place goes to Zhang Chen Nan. First place to Yeolin, the judge announced. Yeolin finally breathed a sigh of relief. The tests were over, and he took first place. The crowd did not hide their delight, recognizing his outstanding skill and the power of a familiar. No one expected that a dark horse could outshine the heirs of the main families. Commentators noted the rarity of such an event. Usually the first places were occupied only by the children of influential families. Xian walked up to Yeolin and congratulated him, and he smiled and responded with mutual praise. During the conversation, she asked which academy he had chosen, and Yeolin, in turn, asked what her plans were. Suddenly, the mayor's voice was heard, and the entrance examination to the Spirit Conquest Academy came to an end. The teachers and students gathered around to congratulate Yeolin for taking first place in the exams. Yeolin brought glory to the class and Heavenly Radiance Academy with his outstanding result. The teacher approached Yeolin, praised his efforts, and noted his outstanding achievement in the academy. Chen Ji was surprised by Yeolin's unexpected success. Yeolin received a reward message: 10% increase in experience for winning the second round of exams. For winning first place in the exams, Yeolin received a talent called Resurrection and was surprised by its power. A message has appeared about the talent Resurrection 1.1 being granted to the familiar for use upon death. Automatically using this talent restores all of the familiar's powers after resurrection. Resurrection requires the full expenditure of experience at the current level. Otherwise, the recharge will not start. If the experience is 0, the talent cannot be used, and the cooldown will be 1 month. Yeolin thought about it, evaluating the talent and realizing that it might not be suitable for working with Jue. Chenji said that the names of the students selected by the 4 great academies would appear on the screen. The Green Dragon Academy selected Yeolin, Lishan, etc. The Red Bird selected Yeolin, White Tiger Yeolin, Lishan, Black Tortoise Yeolin, Hoi, to study at the academy. Selected students will be able to choose an academy through an interface that will appear in front of them, the mayor said. All 4 academies chose Yeolin first. The students discussed that Red Bird Academy usually doesn't accept guys, but made an exception. The students thought that Yeolin was just an exception, and that something like this might not happen again in the future. The situation was completely unique. One of the girls looked at the dialogue box. She had only one option: Black Turtle Academy. She thought about Red Bird, but her friend noted that it was unrealistic. Yeolin watched his dialogue box, where he had 4 academies available for him to enroll in. Yeolin's options: Green Dragon Academy, White Tiger Academy, Red Bird Academy, and Black Tortoise Academy. The voice of one of the academy heads, Liu, addressed Yeolin, suggesting that he choose the Green Dragon Academy. The Green Dragon promised plus 5% materials and visiting the secret boundary 3 times a year. The students discussed that the conditions of the Green Dragon Academy were really good. Liubai warned Yeolin not to rush into making a choice and presented the White Tiger Academy's proposal. White Tiger offered plus 8% resources and access to the secret reach 5 times a year before release. The heads of the academies began to argue over which of them would provide the best conditions, creating a tense atmosphere. Chief Ho announced that the Black Tortoise Academy would give Yeolin plus 10% resources and 5 visits to the secret realm. In addition, she noted that his classmate Huo Xiang-er was also entering Turtle. Yolin was surprised by the mention of Xiang Er, and the girl herself wondered why she was named in the negotiations. Chief Hun, on behalf of the Red Bird, offered plus 15% resources and access to the secret limit once a month. Hong emphasized that Yolin will be the first and only male student in the Academy's history. The other students were dumbfounded as they discussed Yolin's choice and the rare decision of the Red Bird Academy. Yolin realized that 12 visits to the secret limit in a year would give a huge increase in strength and capabilities. A message appeared on the screen. The Red Bird Academy congratulates Yolin on his successful selection. The students were jealous, saying that Yolin had instantly reached the top and become the first guy in history. The students were surprised that he would now study at the academy where all the other girls were. Chenqi admired and envied Yulin because he became the first student of the Red Bird in history. Akun congratulated Yolin, noting that he made the right choice for his future path. Hong gave Yolin one day to pack and informed him that the Red Bird airship would be waiting for him at the gate tomorrow. Yolin agreed and thanked him, noting that he was counting on the care and support of the new academy. The teacher reported that the mayor was waiting for Yolin to meet him at his office at the Heavenly Radiance Academy. The mayor congratulated Yolin on his first place and awarded him 300,000 points and a rare material. Yolin promised not to disgrace the academy and to continue to strive hard for new achievements. In the box, he found the Eternal Bone, the top material from the strongest undead for evolution. Sui won't be able to use it now, but in the final stage, this material will become irreplaceable. The mayor explained that there was no point in keeping the Eternal Bone for him, but for Yolin, it would be a decisive reward. Yolin thanked the mayor for the rare award, promising to never forget this great generosity. The mayor noticed that Yolin was exhausted after the exams and sent him to rest to regain his strength. The girl next to him was surprised that the Eternal Bone, a most valuable relic, was so easily given to the student. The mayor replied that Yolin's future was priceless and far more important than any jewel or relic. Chenji was surprised by Yolin's success, as the best academies were fighting for him, making him a celebrity. Yolin replied that they were friends and suggested that they train together to become stronger. Chenji agreed, and Jian approached them, congratulating Yolin on entering the Red Bird. Chenji joked, but left his friends alone, wishing them luck and going about his business. Yolin congratulated Jian on joining the Black Turtle, to which she responded briefly. Xian noted that Red Bird was a good place and wished Yolin good luck in the new academy. After she left, Yolin wondered why Xian had come and what she really wanted to say. Night in the city of Heavenly Radiance. The Red Bird airship was ready to take off. Yolin climbed aboard and stood next to Chief Hong, causing the female disciples inside to whisper. The girls were surprised. The first student in the history of the academy turned out to be not so handsome and simple-minded. Hong reported that the Red Bird was located in the south of the city, and the journey would take a little time. The teacher suggested that Yolin enjoy the views, as such beauty is rare. At this moment, Captain Li Yuehai, the 5th level of the 7th stage, approached Hong. Yue reported a strange phenomenon on the airship's route, causing alarm among the passengers. Enormous birds began circling the ship, resembling a flock of dangerous flying monsters. Hong was taken aback by the sudden appearance and ordered to observe the further situation. The observation center confirmed that there were many monsters, but their energy did not seem too great. Hong ordered Captain Yue to prepare the airship for battle, and the ship moved towards danger. Ahead, monster birds appeared, trying to attack the airship from different sides. Captain Yue called all the spirit conquerors to the cockpit to fight off the attack. The subordinates responded and ran forward, preparing to fight the monsters. Yolin met Yun Yi, who was also heading to the cockpit as ordered. Suddenly explosions were heard. Hong reassured them that they were just black crows. The teacher noted that this is a chance for newcomers to train in combat conditions. Hong ordered Yolin and Yun Yi to summon familiars to defend the airship. Yun Yi summoned the Ice Bear, her familiar appearing in a blaze of energy. Yolin summoned his familiar Zhui, ready to engage the enemy pack. The Ice Bear became wary at the sight of Zhui and prepared to attack, but Yun Yi stopped the familiar. Yolin noted that although the crows were low level, their numbers were a cause for serious concern. A message about a temporary task appeared before my eyes. Kill as many black crows as possible in 10 minutes. The reward for the task was unknown and depended on the number of enemies destroyed. The crows cawed and attacked the airship, covering it with their wings and creating chaos. Yolen chuckled and thought that this was a great chance to get a rare reward. Yolen ordered Shui not to spare the crows and attack as many as possible, and she rushed into battle. Shui dealt blows, and the ice bear Yun Yi used force to kill the crows. The corpses of the ravens began to appear, and the captains and girls were amazed at the strength of the familiars and their beauty. Black waves of energy appeared in the sky. The king of black ravens was approaching, huge and dangerous. Captain Shui warned to be careful. Hong noted that this was a second-stage king. Yolen thought about the reward for killing the king and sent his familiar to attack. Hong warned that with her current strength, Shui would not be able to deal with the king. Yolen reassured Hong that Shui would handle the task and carry out the order. Hong channeled her magical power and summoned her familiar, Fire Kite, the first level of the 7th stage. The familiar Hong appeared, whom none of the students had encountered before. The 7th level was frightening in its power. The Fire Kite began to fly around the Black Crow King, causing panic among the enemies. The crows began to fly away, realizing that the 7th level kite would burn them to ashes if they did not escape. Shui continued to attack the king, striking and holding him near the airship. Hong noticed that Sui was using a poison attack, causing additional tension. The king of the Black Ravens flew away. The ravens returned to a safe distance. Captain Yue noted the end of the battle, and Yolen noted with disappointment that the king had been released. A message appeared. Time-limited quest completed. 378 Black Ravens killed. Reward for the task. Experience crystals 3 pieces. Growth crystals 1 piece. 4th level reward. Yolen was surprised by the crystals of experience and growth, not immediately understanding their meaning. The black crows have flown away. The students should return to their restrooms. Yolen went inside, pondering the properties of the crystals he had obtained. Experience crystals increase the current level of the familiar by 10%. Growth crystals increase the growth level by 10%. Yolen was happy, because with these crystals, Shui would be able to evolve and become stronger. A message appeared. Familiar Shui has collected enough materials for the next stage of evolution. Yolen laughed and ordered Shui to evolve, watching the process with interest. Shui glowed red and hovered in the air, fully concentrating. She closed her eyes, concentrating on the transformation, and Yolen watched her carefully. Yolen was surprised when a status window appeared in front of him, reflecting Shui's new abilities. Familiar name, Shui, gray-eyed zombie, type, undead, level 1, stage 2, experience 20%. Growth ability is active. Rare equipment is specialized for Shui. Familiar's attire is bloody rainbows. Growth rate is 0%. Talents, physical damage reduction average, magic damage reduction average. Additional, silver regeneration, blood spray, possible flight. Skills, bloodthirstiness, wild blood, possible skills, magic, blood control. Evolution is not yet available. The conditions for the next stage are not met. A message about the next stage of Shui's evolution has appeared. Required materials: yellow-eyed zombie rare, dead spirit 1, yellow spring branch 1, nether stone 1. Also needed are 10 mid-level dark crystals and 10 evil spirit crystals. Yolen smiled as he watched Shui evolve and become stronger. Shui's growth ability has reached a rare level, opening up new possibilities for combat. A message about the flight ability has appeared. Flight requires stamina to be consumed. Blood control magic allows you to control the victim's blood, and even the body through blood. The effectiveness of the magic depends on the level of the target. The higher the enemy's level, the less influence. Yolen thought about Shui's flight with blood control magic and infinite stamina, imagining new possibilities. He thought that Shui could constantly fly in the sky, accumulating experience points. The familiar has reached level 1, stage 2, and the automatic capture ability has been activated. As a reward, he received a mystical item that surprised Yolen with its appearance. A box with a talent card opened in front of him, the first time Yolen had seen such an item. A message appeared. The talent card allows you to copy all of the familiar's talents up to 5 times. Yolen was delighted. No one in the entire Union had such an item. He realized that that he could now have all of Shui's talents, and hugged her, rejoicing. Shui was surprised by the owner's actions and asked about his intentions. Yolan decided to try to copy Shui's talents right now, without delay. A message appeared. Download complete. Yolan successfully copied Shui's talents. Talents acquired. Silver regeneration and bloody spray. 3 uses of the card left. Yolan was amazed. Now all of Shui's talents were his, rejoicing at the result. He prepared himself for the next incredible event, making a contract with the second familiar. Yolan had an egg in his hand. He used his blood for the contract and summoned a familiar. The egg began to crack, signaling the awakening of the second familiar. A magical red light appeared from the airship, causing nervousness among the students. The students discussed whose familiar it was and whether Hongshu had released the fire kite again. Suddenly, there was an explosion, and a huge fiery bird, a phoenix, appeared in front of Yolan. Yolan was amazed. This was an epic familiar, gifted by the system, at a high level right away. The status window opened, showing the new phoenix's stats and strength. Familiar name: Unknown Phoenix. Species: Divine Bird. Level 9 first stage. Experience: 0%. Epic growth ability: 0% growth rate. No equipment. Talents: Phoenix Flight and Fire. Possible talent. High level of fire immunity. No skills. Possible skills: Hellfire, Defense, Divine Fire. Evolution is not available yet. Conditions for the next stage are not met. Familiar evolution tree. The only tree for future development. Phoenix is epic. Gray-eyed zombie is rare. Blue-eyed zombie is epic. Fire red bird. Mythic tier. Yellow-eyed zombie. Rare. Red bird. Legendary. For evolution, the following materials are required: 1 red bird soul and 1 power of 4 spirits. Yolan thought, if it is a phoenix, why does it not have the talent Nirvana Resurrection? He remembered that he himself has the talent of resurrection and decided to bestow this ability on the phoenix. The talent was transferred to the phoenix, transformed into Nirvana Resurrection, taking into account the effects of fire. Yolan laughed and called the familiar Fengju, or simply A-Ju. Phoenix agreed with the name. Yolan was amazed that the epic familiar could speak. The airship approached the holy city. The students watched the approach with interest. Hong's voice announced that they would soon reach their destination, priming the students for landing. The ship was already very close to the city, creating a sense of an approaching event. The students shouted joyfully and pressed themselves against the windows of the airship, admiring the beauty of the holy city. Hong said that they would first fly to the Redbird Academy, where the students would study. The airship approached the academy. Hong explained that living quarters would be prepared later. For Yolan, as the first student in the history of the academy, a separate villa has been prepared as a dormitory. Yolan thanked and apologized for the trouble while accepting the academy's gift. The girl in the car came up and introduced herself. Hong pointed to Yolan as a student. The girl was surprised that the student was a guy. Yolan confirmed that he was indeed a boy, and not a transvestite. Hong laughed, noting that the Big Four fought for Yolan and put in a lot of effort. The girl behind the wheel invited Yolan to quickly get into the car and go to the dormitory. Yolan agreed. Hong wished him a rest and promised to introduce him to the director later. Yunyi said goodbye. Yolan got into the car and set off towards the private villa. The students at the academy discussed the unusual newcomer, wondering why he was a boy. They marveled at Yolan's strength, noting that he had broken the recruitment rules, but the director approved. The girls were sure that the academy's first student could not be weak, and discussed his abilities. The girls discussed the appearance of the first guy at the academy, anticipating tomorrow's events. One of the students said that she would definitely get Yolan. Yolan got out of the car and looked around the brightly lit city with its colorful lights. Lohun brought Yolan to the principal's office, introducing him as the academy's first student. The director welcomed Yolan and noted his extraordinary achievements at the first level. Lohun asked what class to send Yolan to. The director noted his potential. It's decided. Yolan will join the Redbird class. Lohun will take care of the organization. The director wished Yolan to prove himself. Yolan thanked her for her trust. Hong and Yolan left the office and headed to another building where the Redbird class was located. Yolan asked what class it was. Hong explained that it was an elite class with the best students in the Federation. Hong added that they are taking in undiscovered talents here, and everything will be carefully monitored since Yeolin is the only student. Yeolin understood and agreed. Hong promised to bring him to class later. The signboard read, "Red Bird Classroom," and Yeolin entered the classroom. The girls screamed when they heard that the first student had come to their class, discussing his appearance and abilities. Some said that it was expected and that he was clearly strong, otherwise the director would not have accepted him. Yeolin walked to the last desk and sat down, noting that it would be difficult to pass unnoticed here. He felt slightly embarrassed, aware of the attention from his classmates and their discussions. Teacher Gayuyu appeared in the classroom, calling for everyone to be quiet and introducing herself as the one responsible for the classes. She explained that training and daily activities are separated, and training takes place in groups of 3 to 4 people. Each group will be led by a designated leader who will conduct the training. The teacher divided the students into groups, including Yeolin in the first group. Hong Xiu was appointed as the leader of the first group, which caused surprise among the girls. The students discussed that Hong had stopped leading the students and that she was from Heavenly Radiance City. The teacher announced that the groups were formed and told everyone to go to their groups for training. The students agreed and began to divide into groups for classes. On the street, 2 girls, Hu Shui and Sun Ning, waved their hands, calling Yeolin to come over. Yeolin approached, returning the greeting, and the girls happily introduced themselves. Soon Hong's voice was heard, and she briefly introduced the girls to the group. Hong said that she would not introduce them again. They would become closer friends on their own. She reminded them that as a leader she would be with them until graduation. Hong emphasized that they were all elite, gathered from all over the Federation. The teacher said she would neither chat nor constantly monitor. Since they knew the theory, Hong immediately led them to practice. There was a bang. The girls were surprised. A magical force flashed before them. Yeolin was also surprised to see Master Hong nearby. Hong informed him that the academy would fulfill its promise regarding Yeolin's training. Yeolin was surprised when he received a special card from Hong. Hong explained that this was a secret limit card and could be used once a month. The secret reach contains all sorts of useful things and accelerates the growth of strength. Yeolin was glad to get the chance to go there for the first time, listening carefully to the explanation. The Hall of Secret Reaches is a place with many locations, guarded by at least the 7th level. The students discussed how it would be difficult to get in, and newcomers were not yet allowed. Yeolin approached the threshold of the hall, admiring the height of the buildings and majestic columns. He asked the guard how to get to the secret reach, showing the map from Hun. The girl was surprised that the newcomer was allowed in and led Yeolina to the end of the corridor. Yeolin followed her with admiration, ready to take his first steps inside the secret reach. The girl explained that different gates of the secret limits correspond to different levels of difficulty. Beginners are better off going to the lowest level limit, as the secret limits are not safe. If you encounter danger and leave at the wrong time, you risk staying there forever. Yeolin agreed with the warning and realized that the 2nd level limit would be more dangerous. The time to explore the limit is 3 days. Yeolin decided to handle it alone. A quest message appeared: explore the secret boundary of the 2nd level. The reward is unknown. It will be given depending on the last level of exploration. Yeolin decided to complete the system's quest and select the 2nd level secret boundary. He took into account that the research would take 3 days and would raise the Phoenix to the 2nd stage. The girl behind warned that one must always be on guard within the limits. Yeolin boldly entered the portal, ready for the trials of the secret limit. The girl sighed, noting that modern students in pursuit of power do not take care of themselves at all. Yeolin walked out of the portal and saw 1st and 2nd level monsters everywhere. He announced the start of the exploration and surveyed the territory of the secret boundary. Yeolin ordered the familiars Xu A and Feng Ju to prepare for important actions. 2 familiars appeared, surprised by their surroundings. Phoenix noted that it was not a house. Yeolin explained that it was a level 2 secret limit for leveling up. Yeolin demanded to speed up the level increase. Phoenix laughed it off and did not let him touch it. Yeolin noted Phoenix's explosive nature, and Xu Ai suggested that they go for a walk and also do some training. Phoenix began to chase the monsters, trying to increase his level. The monsters began to run away. The Phoenix rose into the air and delivered a powerful blow, causing a huge explosion. Yolin watched Fengju's transformation with surprise, noting how extremely bright it was. The phoenix attracted the attention of all the monsters, creating a lot of noise in the secret realm. Xue noticed the approach of the alpha wild wolves, level unknown, but it was second stage. Yolin was upset, realizing that there was a bunch of first-stage monsters and alpha second nearby, Phoenix thought, assessing the situation and the threat posed by the wolves. A system task has appeared. Phoenix must overcome the first battle alone. The reward would be a card with double experience. Yolin smiled, considering the task timely. Phoenix stated that he would go on the attack. Xue and Yolin would not interfere. The girl can easily destroy weak monsters. Phoenix headed towards the wolf with blazing fire. The wolf opened its mouth and released a fiery blow. Yolin was surprised by its magic. Phoenix caught fire, but remained unharmed due to his high-level fire immunity. Yolin smiled, anticipating the end of Alpha and Phoenix's victory in the fight. Phoenix used Devil Flame, which glowed green, towards Alpha Wolf. The wolf caught fire, and the flaming pack with him. The attack destroyed everything around. Yolin watched the Phoenix's destructive power in amazement, finding it both frightening and impressive. The wolf fell to the ground. After the fight, automatic messages about the loot appeared: claws, heart, and fire crystal. Yolin noted Phoenix's strength. Phoenix replied that he was following orders and was tired after the fight. Yolin suggested continuing the research and finding new monsters. Phoenix was willing, but slightly irritated. Near the building, the voices of tired girls after a hellish workout could be heard, discussing how to regain their strength. One girl reminded me that the next training session would start soon, pushing me to eat. The girls were surprised that Yolin did not participate in the training and asked Hu Shui about it. Hu Shui explained that Yolin had gone alone to the secret realm to complete a mission. The girls were amazed, as newcomers were not usually allowed to go there without an escort. They discussed the dangers of the secret realm and marveled at teacher Hong's calm. The teacher asked Hong in surprise how she had allowed a new student to go to the secret limit. Hong replied that Yolin was under her care and she was not worried about his safety. The teacher continued to ask what exactly Hong had planned with this student. Hong calmly explained that she was in control of the situation and that everything was under her supervision. The conversation ended with the teacher's surprise, who was still trying to understand Hong's intentions. Hong explained that she was fully aware of Yolin's abilities and was in control of the situation. The secret limit of the first stage is not a problem for him, she said. The teacher expressed doubt, reminding him that Yolin went to the second level. Hong thought about it, but assured that the second level would not be a problem either. She noted that Yolin was already a second-stage spirit conqueror, which made him strong. The teacher agreed with Hong and refused to argue with her teaching methods. She warned that if Hong had any problems, she would have to explain herself to the principal. Hong mentally turned to Yolin, hoping that he would not disappoint her. Yolin sneezed constantly, guessing that someone was remembering him. Sui pointed forward. Yolin noticed a strange monster. Phoenix agreed to lift Yolin and Sui up to take a closer look, demanding something tasty in return. Yolin gave it his all, climbing onto Phoenix's back, and they soared into the air. Yolin held on tightly and enjoyed the flight, laughing with pleasure. Sui was nearby, her touch causing Yolin strange sensations. Below, they saw fire lions and a buffalo, the lions hunting the bull tracer of the earth. Yolin thought, second-tier monsters in the secret realm shouldn't be encountered so often. He decided not to rush down and watch the monsters kill each other. One of the fire lions rushed at the earth tracer buffalo. A protective stone wall appeared around the buffalo, saving it from the blow. The lion crashed into the wall. The attack was powerless against the defense. Yolin noticed that the second-stage monsters used elemental magic and had considerable strength. He realized that the secret limit of the second stage was not as easy as it seemed at first. There was no point in watching the battle for too long. Time was precious in the limit. Yolin gave the order to Shui to take advantage of the confusion and attack without mercy. Shui agreed and immediately rushed to attack, ready to destroy all enemies. Shui was close to the fire lion in the clearing, ready to attack. Suddenly, an explosion went off, creating chaos among the monsters. Yolin and Phoenix coordinated their attack. Yolin on top, Shui on the bottom. The plan was to leave no monster alive. Shui stood among the fire lions, and the buffalo took refuge behind a stone wall. Shui used the power of blood control, releasing black waves of energy. The fifth-level second-stage fire lion began to attack Shui. Shui jumped up, one of the waves of energy hitting the lion. Shui's hand was burned, but began to recover quickly through regeneration. The phoenix was flying in the sky. The lions noticed its approach. The battle gradually moved into the active phase. Rumors began to circulate in the Black Tortoise Academy about a newcomer from the Red Bird who had entered the secret realm alone. The guys discussed that this could be very dangerous for a newbie. At this time, Shui went on the attack, knocking down the fire lions with powerful blows. Yolen noted that in order to advance to the second stage, one must participate in battles. Otherwise, Shui will cope on her own. Phoenix thought it was too simple and laughed at Yolen's words. The girls Jian Shengnan and Huo Xian-A were discussing the news about Yolen in the secret realm. They were surprised that a newcomer went there alone and didn't even know his place. Xian thought about Yolen, noting that he was becoming strong too quickly. Yolen and Shui sat on a log, watching the tired phoenix. Yolen noted that there was no time to waste in the hidden realm. Phoenix lay on the ground, tired from the fight, resting next to them. Shui pointed ahead at something glowing blue in the bushes. Yolen approached the shining object, noticing a rare species that was not listed in the reference book. Shui warned Yolen to be careful as he reached out to the flower. A two-headed green boa constrictor of the 8th level of the second stage appeared from the blue illumination. The boa constrictor opened its mouth and tried to attack Yolen. Yolen activated the spiritual chain, trying to bind the two-headed monster. The chain hit the boa constrictor's body, but soon began to crumble, unable to withstand the second level of force. Yolen tried to act, but the second stage chain was useless. The phoenix appeared in the sky, releasing waves of fire towards the monster using the protection of divine fire. Phoenix's fire stream attacked the two-headed boa constrictor, dealing heavy damage. Yolen wondered why Phoenix hadn't used this skill before. Phoenix thought about it and warned that if he was woken up again, Yolen would pay for it. Phoenix used Devil Flame on the two-headed boa constrictor, the fire spreading to the nearby trees. There was a powerful explosion, and the boa constrictor's heads began to fall to the ground from the impact. Yolen noted that the snake meat can now be taken. Yolen became interested in the rare fruit and reached out his hand to take a closer look. A message appeared. The fruit of the dead spirit is created by absorbing the soul of a dead person. The soul of a dead person takes control of the body of the original owner after absorption. This is a rare high-level material for evolving undead class pets. Yolen was surprised. Could this really be the fruit of a dead spirit? He noted that this was the perfect material for Shui's evolution to the next level. A good place. The secret boundary was not explored in vain, Yolen noted. They were in a hurry. Without wasting time, they headed to kill the monsters. First day, Shui fought the flying monsters using chains and attacks on the enemies. Day 2, Yolen and Shui fought the gorilla monsters, breaking through their forces. Third day, Aju and Shui attacked the monkey monsters, quick and precise strikes. Yolen shouted, "Attack faster!" urging the familiars to fight. Phoenix reached the second level of the second stage. Its strength increased. Shui reached the third level of the second stage, showing progress. Yolen looked at his watch. 3 days had flown by quickly. It was time to leave the secret limit. The portal opened. Yolen left the secret boundary. He returned after 3 days of exploration. In the principal's office, the teacher reported, "Madam Principal, the second-level secret boundary has been damaged. The dark forest was burned by the hellish flames. The vegetation was badly damaged. It will take time to recover." The director frowned, trying to understand the cause of the destruction. The teacher reported that only one student had entered the secret boundary of the second level. The newcomer, Yolen. The headmistress ordered the area to be closed for the restoration team. The teacher asked about the punishment, but the headmistress decided that there was no need to punish Yolen. The headmistress's plans for the newcomer remained unknown. The limit was closed and handed over to the restoration team. Yolen walked down the street, attracting the attention of girls everywhere he went. He thought about how his presence now aroused interest and curiosity everywhere. The news talked about him as the first student to enter the secret limit straight away, but in person, he seemed more attractive. He realized that getting used to the constant attention would not be easy. Yolen received a reward for completing the quest to explore the second-level secret boundary. the Eye of Truth, 5 Spirit Crystals, and 5 Experience Crystals. The Eye of Truth had the properties of spiritual vision, allowing one to see information about any object, while consuming 20 points of spirit power per second. It was impossible to improve his abilities. Yolen thought about it, noting that the system also allows you to get information, but many data remain hidden, and decided to test the capabilities of the new artifact. Yolen took a maple leaf in his hand, and the system displayed information. Power of Spirit 5. Name Red Maple. Short description. Age over 30 years, with a special ability to retain red color all year round. Then he looked up and noticed a girl standing next to him. Yolen noticed her status window. Spirit Power 5. Name Wang Ling Yo. 19 years old. 9th level of the first stage. Spirit Power 600 out of 900. Spiritual abilities include Level 1 Spiritual Aim and Level 1 Spiritual Shield. Her familiar is Dragon Blood Lion. Level 9 First Step. Height 160 centimeters. Yolen was amazed by the detailed parameters and was surprised at how many unusual abilities the system provided. He noticed that each time it was used, it took away 5 points of spirit power, and decided to hold off for now. Yolen was walking down the street and met teacher Hongshu. She waved her hand and called him over. Hongshu asked how he felt after the secret limit, and what he thought about the test he had passed. Yolen noticed that the other students had not arrived and asked about it. Hongshu said that she had just spoken with the principal, and it had been decided to transfer Yolen to the second year. She handed him a paper and a card, explaining that in the second year, internships were more frequent, so it was important to prepare resources and equipment. Yolen looked at the paper that had Heavenly Vault Pavilion written on it, and became curious about its meaning. Hong explained that the address given was the location of the most famous equipment store in the entire Holy City, the Heavenly Vault Pavilion. She noted that Yolen could go there on her own to purchase all the necessary materials and equipment. Hong also added that she needed to find a second-year teacher to assign Yolen a task. Yolen agreed and confirmed that he would understand the instructions. Yolen headed into town towards the Sky Vault Pavilion. When he arrived, he was struck by the size and luxury of the establishment, which looked more like a treasure trove than a regular store. At the entrance, he was met by a girl who asked how she could help him. Yolen tried to find out where he could sell the materials, and the girl explained that the sales room was on the second floor. But first she asked if he was a student at the Redbird Academy. Yolen confirmed that he was studying at the academy, but the girl was doubtful. It was believed that the academy only accepted girls. When Yolen insisted, the saleswoman refused to serve him and asked him to leave the pavilion. Yolen was indignant, but then the girl next to him intervened. It turned out to be the director of the pavilion. She wanted to sort out the situation. Yolen saw the owner of the Heavenly Vault Pavilion, Chen Meng Yao, in front of him. Through the system, he was able to open her status window. She is 20 years old. She has reached the 5th level of the 3rd stage. Her spirit power is fully charged, 6,000 out of 6,000. Among her spiritual abilities, she had the 2nd level spiritual chain, 2nd level spiritual shield, and floating fire feathers. She has 2 familiars at her disposal, a rare class fire pterosaur, level 9 of the 2nd stage, and a poison mist vine, also rare, level 5 of the 2nd stage. Chen Meng Yao's height is 163 centimeters, and her measurements are 92, 62, 87. Yolen watched carefully, assessing her capabilities. Yolen approached the pavilion manager to clarify the situation. The saleswoman accused him of cheating, claiming that he was not a student of the Redbird Academy. The principal confirmed Yolen's identity, noting that he was indeed a new student and the only male in the academy. The director advised the saleswoman to follow the academy's news and events more closely. Yolen noted with interest that the owner of the pavilion had impressive parameters. The headmistress left, instructing the saleswoman to apologize to Yolen and then escort him to her office. The saleswoman kept repeating her apologies. Yolen calmly replied that he forgave her. Yolen found himself in the principal's office. The principal, introducing herself as Chen Meng Yao, noted that he looked better in person than in the photo. She extended her hand in greeting, stating that she herself was a 3rd-year student at the Redbird Academy. Yolen greeted her. She asked him to call her by her first name. The headmistress asked what materials he wanted to sell, promising a good price since her family had founded the pavilion. Yolen took out the ring and agreed. The table was littered with various finds collected by Yolen in the secret limit of the second level. He explained that he had collected all of them himself. The girl was surprised by the quality of the materials and confirmed the rumors that he really went to the limit alone. She noticed the emerald pearl that she had been looking for a long time to evolve her vine. But Yolen offered to take it for herself since he did not have any plant familiars. The girl thanked her. The headmistress asked to calculate the federal points for the emerald pearls and other materials in order to set a good price. The saleswoman assured that everything would be done. Yolen decided to buy simple equipment and low-level materials. The headmistress assured him that everything would be fine and promised that they would sell him everything at a discount. The girls added that the purchased items would be delivered straight to his home and that he would always be welcome at the pavilion. He was leaving the building. Yolen was walking down the steps, preparing to return to the academy. The headmistress warned me to be careful on the way and allowed me to address her informally rather than as an older classmate. The saleswoman was surprised, noting that the headmistress usually did not behave like that with people and that she did not think that she should like Yolen. The headmistress only advised reading more news and interfering less in other people's affairs, noting that this would be useful. The academy was actively discussing the news. Yolen's transfer to the second year caused a storm of emotions among the students. The girls were worried that the only guy in their class was being taken away, and some complained that they would no longer be able to confess to him. Meanwhile, Yolen walked down the street thinking about his business. He sold materials for 450,000 federal points and bought for 170,000. Suddenly, a girl he didn't know appeared in front of him. It was Wu Xuan. She immediately asked him if he was Yolen. Yolen confirmed that it was him. The girl jumped up and tried to hit him, but he put up a defense. She continued to attack without revealing who she was or why she attacked, saying that he would only find out everything after he lost. Yolen, busy with his own affairs, tried to leave, saying that he did not have time for a fight. The girl got angry and shouted that she would not let him meet her again and called him a creature. Yolen ran to the academy out of breath. He explained to Hong that he was late because of a small mishap on the road with a crazy girl. Hong laughed and reminded him that he should get used to being the center of attention, since he was the only boy in the academy and had recently transferred to the second year. She also said that she would introduce him to the new manager. Lee Senyoya, level 3, 7th stage, appeared next to her, explaining that she had just completed a quest herself. Hong introduced Yolen to his new second-year teacher, Lee Xingyue, explaining that he was the only boy in Redbird Academy and was now being transferred to her tutelage. Yolen greeted him politely and asked him to take care of him. Lee Xingyue noted that he was cute, but also a bit of a coward, making a light joke about him. Hong left them, and Lee Xingyue, hugging Yolen, offered to show him her classmates, who, according to her, were even cooler than her. Yolen thought, realizing that new acquaintances and trials lay ahead. An explosion was heard in the square near the academy, attracting the attention of the students. The girls discussed the rumors that the academy's only guy would be joining their group, expressing doubt and surprise. How could a newbie get into the second year, which was intended for those already in the rankings? Teacher Lee approached the group, introduced Yolen as their younger classmate, and asked them to take care of him without wasting any unnecessary words. The girls greeted him with greetings. Teacher Lee explained that the second-year exam was divided into rankings based on actual battles. At the top of the list was Zhang Qi-yu, the first in the ranking, which she announced. Yolen was surprised to see such confidence and preparation from the student. The girl extended her hand to him, introducing herself as Zhang Qi-yu, the first-place second-year student. He noticed her unusually high level of development and capabilities through the status window. Age 19, level 8, stage 2, spirit strength 4,000 out of 4,000. Spiritual abilities included a second-level spiritual chain and spiritual shield, as well as super speed and dragon breath. Familiars, fierce dragon, rare, level 8, step 2, and diamond monkey, rare, level 5, step 2. Height 171 centimeters, parameters 90 to 63 to 93. Yolen was amazed by Zhang Qi-yu's level, 8th level second stage, and 2 rare familiars. incredible strength. He wondered if he could take first place in the second year if he directly defeated Zhang Qiyu. Teacher Li laughed, noting that the idea was good, but Zhang Qiyu was too strong. Yolin insisted on challenging him to a duel. Li explained that to be officially called up, you need to be in the top 10 of the rankings, and Yolin is not there yet. Yolin realized that the ranking system was quite complicated, but Zhang Qiyu explained that all he had to do was defeat her, and then he could test his strength within the second-year rules. A student named Wu Xuan, ranked third in her second year, appeared and said that if Yolin could beat her, she would give him her third-place ranking. However, if he loses, Yolin will have to leave the class. Yolin immediately recognized the student. It was Wu Xuan, the same one who stopped him on the road. The girls around began to discuss. One noted Wu Xuan's courage, another, Yolin's risk, because in case of defeat, he had to leave the academy. Despite the warnings, Yolin accepted the challenge. Wu Xuan summoned her familiar with a smile, showing serious intentions, and the students watching this were amazed to see that Xuan was not joking. Wu Xuan's familiar appeared. It was a thunder bear, rare, level 7, 2 stages. The students around him admired his powerful energy, because Wu Xuan was ranked third in the class, and the strength of her familiar fully confirmed this. Wu Xuan's status showed level 7, second stage, spirit power 3,500 out of 3,500, spirit chain level 2, spirit shield level 2, and also the skills Thunder Fist and Illusion. Height 160.8 centimeters, parameters remained unknown. Yolin thought, the 7th level of the second stage, and also the Gram Fist with Illusion from Wu Xuan's familiar. It won't be easy. He called out to his familiar, "Shui!" The girl immediately appeared before him, causing him to admire her. The female students around him began to discuss the familiar, which was so beautiful and strong that attention shifted from Yolin's appearance to his familiar. The girls wondered, why does Shui herself look so impressive and powerful? Why is his familiar so impressive? They wondered if it would be possible to achieve the same beauty and strength by choosing a similar outfit to Yolin's familiar. Yolin did not hesitate and ordered Zhui to attack. Zhuian summoned her familiar, Thunder Bear, and the monster charged. The two familiars clashed in battle. Loud sounds of fighting were heard. Neither of them received a scratch, so strong were their abilities. The collision was accompanied by explosions of energy and thunderclaps of lightning. Thunder Bear activated his thunder armor, which both protected and dealt damage on contact. Xuan observed the enemy's strength and noted how devastating this combination of defense and attack power was. The students around were astonished. Wu Xuan's familiar not only had impressive defense, but also the ability to deal critical damage with the power of thunder. The familiars clashed again. Zhui delivered accurate blows, but Thunder Bear gave her an electric shock, rendering Xui's arms useless for a time. The crowd watched in suspense. Shui activated her super regeneration, quickly repairing the damage, and continued her attack. At this moment, Sewan summoned her second familiar, Ilizor Lizard, to increase the pressure on Shui. The audience was surprised to see that Thunder Bear had been broken, and Shui was able to withstand the attack thanks to her regenerative ability. The Ilizor Lizard appeared behind Yolin, trying to deliver a surprise attack. The crowd was shocked, and the observers noted the incredible strength of Yolin's familiar. Shui remained adamant, acting with the precision of a machine. Yolin noticed the lizard thanks to the Eye of Truth, which allowed him to recognize the hidden threat despite the illusion. He summoned his second familiar, Phoenix, covered in fiery flames, ready to attack. Xuan gave the order to Lizard, but now the turn passed to Yolin and his powerful familiar. Yolina Phoenix appeared and attacked the illusory lizard with fire, releasing firebirds that engulfed the enemy in green flames. Lizard and Thunder Bear tried to hide, but the fire was everywhere. The students retreated in panic, watching the destructive power of the familiar. The teacher and Hong arrived at the scene of the battle. Both were amazed by the power of the Phoenix, admitting that they were seeing it for the first time. Yolin stopped the attack, ordering his familiar to cease fire. Xuan admitted defeat, agreeing that Yolin would now be ranked third in the second year, after which he would receive the corresponding third-place materials. After defeating Wu Xuan, Yulin found himself in the spotlight, as the students were amazed by his familiar and incredible strength. The girls admired his success and speed, recognizing him as their new idol. The system notified him of third place in the second-year rankings and of the reward, a mysterious item. Yolin remained serious, understanding the significance of what had happened. Female students came up to him and asked how he became so strong, were interested in the secrets of his development and the possibility of getting contacts. Yolin agreed to follow Hong, who wanted to discuss with him the recent events and the fact that the Divine Phoenix had appeared just recently. Hong thought for a moment, then quickly switched to new tasks. Teacher Lee received a new task, and Yolin was warned of the need for urgent preparation. He decided to quickly get ready and return to the hostel, where a room with personal belongings was waiting for him. At this moment, dialogue boxes with information about the crystallized Phoenix essence appeared on the screen. The essence contained the power of the Divine Phoenix, helped to dispel the cold and maintain clarity of mind. And with active use, she could summon a level 10, step 9 Divine Phoenix. The summoned Phoenix had a lifespan of 5 minutes, and the essence could only be used 3 times before it would disappear. Yolin studied the information carefully, realizing the value and limitations of such a powerful artifact. Yolin thought about his new power. Level 10. Phoenix Summon seemed incredibly powerful, but being limited to only 3 uses made him cautious. He remembered Wu Xuan's recent defeat and decided that he should find the right moment to settle the situation with her. A pop-up window showed that he had received money from Wu Xuan, and Yolin realized that he was running out of time. It was time to leave. The girls were already waiting for him on the street. They greeted Yolin, noting that he had surprised them. Among them was Xu Yi, who was ranked first and was slightly frightened by his strength. Yolin asked if he could challenge her to a duel now. Xu Yi agreed, and they were both ready. At that moment, Hong appeared nearby, checking if everyone was gathered to continue the classes. Teacher Lee looked carefully at the assembled students. She noted that everyone was assembled and then turned to Yolin. Hearing the confirmation of his new status, she smiled slightly, noticing his modesty about defeating Wu Xuan. But then her expression turned serious. Lee said that this time they were not going to have a regular training session, but an urgent mission. The atmosphere immediately changed. The girls looked at each other, realizing that they were talking about something dangerous and important. Yolin tensed up, sensing that a whole new level of challenge was coming. In the vicinity of the Black Rock, a large number of weak monsters suddenly appeared, as if a wave was coming. Black Rock City has requested the Federation's help to stop the impending threat. During the wave of weak monsters, strong monsters will not appear. Teacher Lee accompanies the students, ensuring their safety during the upcoming battle. Before heading out, Teacher Lee suggests asking any questions right now. The students confidently answer that they have no questions and are ready to go out into the field. The teacher nods with satisfaction and gives the command to move out immediately. The car was rushing towards the Holy City. The distance from the Black Rock was still very small. The teacher handed over a tablet with data on the monsters and the target. The students studied the image of the creatures closely. Yolin noted that most of the monsters looked like undead. The car was approaching the place where clusters of monsters were spotted. Yusi noticed a suspiciously large number of creatures. Among them, some strong ones were visible. The teacher wondered, was this a mistake in the information, or had the situation changed? Deciding not to stop, the teacher stepped on the gas and drove the car forward. The students prepared in unison to meet the enemies. The car rushed forward, and low-level monsters flew apart. Suddenly, a huge monster with a massive sword blocked the way. He raised his blade and prepared to deliver a crushing blow. Teacher Lee warned the students to be careful and hold on. She cast her magic, and a golden shield flared around the machine. The barrier glowed, throwing the creatures aside like fragile toys. A dead rider emerged from the darkness, radiating darkness and cold. His voice ominously declared that they would all be sacrificed. It foreshadowed the coming of the Red Moon and the death of the Black Rock. His army of monsters awaited orders. In the castle square, residents gathered, waiting for news of what was happening. Lord Lo was asked to explain the situation and tell the truth. He reported that the monsters around the Black Rock were becoming more numerous. But the most terrible thing was that a dead rider appeared, a source of horror. People in the crowd discussed in fear. Even the dead rider came. Teacher Lee suggested not to wait, but to attack the enemy themselves. The Lord greeted Yue and listened attentively to her words. Teacher Li warned, "The wave of monsters will only grow." She added that if Black Rock does not act, it will suffer losses. Lord Lo thought about it and suggested using heavy weapons. The atmosphere in the square became tense. Everyone was waiting for a decision. The students thought, Black Rock is clearly not thriving. The situation is alarming. Seung Yi noticed that Teacher Li had not yet returned from her meeting with the Lord. Suddenly, loud shouts and calls to move faster were heard. The students saw several guys dragging a heavy gun forward. The weapon was powered by spiritual energy, which surprised everyone. Seung Yi explained that it consumed dark crystals and was extremely powerful. Everyone realized that the threat was more serious than it seemed at first glance. A powerful explosion thundered in the distance. The air shook with the roar. It looked like the cannon was being prepared to be aimed directly at the city wall. Yolin suggested that they go and take a closer look at what was going on. The students agreed and followed him. The cannons on the fortress were ready. The monsters were already approaching the walls. The soldiers aimed their guns and fired into the distance, shouting for more ammunition. The students watched the preparations and watched the events tensely. Teacher Li warned that the city's protective barrier would soon open. She added that among the monsters, there was a dead rider, who was extremely dangerous. Seung Yi noted that his strength was equivalent to the 6th level or higher. Teacher Li instructed the students to protect themselves and act cautiously. The students moved forward, preparing to meet the monsters. Linya, for the first time on a mission, encountered a dead rider. This is extremely dangerous. Seung Yi advised Linyi not to run forward and to be careful. Yolin noticed a quest screen. A temporary quest had begun on Black Rock. The goal is to kill as many monsters as possible to get a reward. Yolin noted with admiration that the system tasks are perfectly timed. The people nearby were discussing the students, noting Linny as the only guy from Redbird. Seung Yi reminded Linny to be careful and cautious. Yolin asked again in surprise, not fully understanding her words. Seung Yi warned him sternly, "Don't die, otherwise she'll have to raise his corpse." Yolin responded with a short, "Oh," in mild surprise. A bright flash erupted in the center of the square, attracting everyone's attention. Lord Lo declared that the time had come to defend Black Rock. A status window opened with information about Luo Xianshan. Age 45, level 5, 7 steps, spirit strength 91,450 out of 92,000. Spiritual abilities include level 5 spiritual chain and level 6 spiritual shield. Law has invulnerability and the familiar wings magnificent roar. Rare, level 5, 7 stages. His familiars: Blue Kite normal level 10, 6 steps. Dark Chimera normal level 5, 6 steps. Nightmare normal 4 levels, 6 steps. Ice Turtle rare 4 levels, 7 steps. Luo Qianshan's height is 183 centimeters. Yolin thought he was strong. Lord Lo called for raising his guns and dealing a heavy blow to the monsters. The students shouted, "Kill!" and rushed to attack, inspired by the Lord's energy. Yolin thought that it was no wonder that Lo was the master of the city. The soldiers were full of determination. Lord Lo gave the command to open the gates and begin the massacre. The monsters approached, meeting the fire of the cannons and the fighting fury of the students. Teacher Li reminded the newcomers to maintain coordination and not rush forward. The familiars came to life and entered the battle, helping the students repel the enemy. Yolin warned Jue not to stray too far in the chaos of battle, and she agreed. From the heights of the cliff, the dead horsemen watched the events, mocking the victims. Suddenly, spiders appeared, crawling forward, following the orders of the dead rider. He ordered, "Go, go, eat heartily," sowing chaos among the defenders. Seung Yi summoned her familiar and sent it to attack the approaching monsters. One of the monsters jumped straight at her, but Yolin shouted, "Shui, forward!" Shui delivered a powerful blow, and the monster fell to the ground. Seung Yi thanked the familiar for his help. Yolin pointed ahead. Cave spiders were approaching them. Seung Yi noted that there were too many of them, and the situation was serious. The spiders were gigantic in size. Their eyes glowed red. One of the spiders swung at the students. Seung Yi shouted, "Watch out!" Suddenly, a cannon exploded, and Teacher Lee shot the spider. She explained that cave spiders have a decomposing effect and warned of caution. Seong-yi noticed that the spiders were becoming more numerous and were attacking again. The spiders approached, and the warriors retreated, dodging the monster's attacks. The familiars leapt forward, including the huge lion, who roared at the spiders. Yulin recognized the lion as Lord Lo's familiar, watching him in surprise. Lord Lo sat on a lion, swinging his sword and shouting, "Charge!" The warriors followed suit, firing blasters at the waves of spiders. Teacher Lee warned that after the waves of weak monsters, stronger ones would come. Yolin decided to summon Aju and summoned the phoenix into the sky. The students admired the beauty and power of the divine phoenix. Yolin ordered Phoenix to show his power, and he attacked the monsters with fire. The spiders and monsters tried to run away in panic, but the phoenix burned them alive. The dead horseman watched the fight and was surprised by the tenacity of the attackers. He used the power of dead madness and headed into battle. The monsters began to scream as if they were mad, their rage growing. The rider approached the warrior, grabbed him by the head, and began to possess him. Teacher Lee noted that the situation was becoming very dangerous. The dead rider had caused the monsters to go berserk, increasing their speed and strength. Lord Lo summoned his familiar, the ice crystal turtle. A huge turtle rose into the sky and, on the Lord's command, froze the territory. The freeze activated, and all the monsters were covered in ice. Yolin watched the slowing effect and was impressed by the power of the spell. The warriors shouted, "Counterattack!" and rushed into battle, firing blasters at the monsters. Yolin sat on the phoenix and prepared for an air attack. He called on Aju to attack, and the phoenix burst into flames. Firebirds flew out of it, flying forward and striking the monsters. Yolin warned him to be careful not to let the devil's flames hurt his own. Phoenix reassured him by demonstrating control over the fire. Everything around was ablaze with flames, creating the effect of an impressive battle. The students admired the familiar, amazed by its power and beauty. They noted that this was indeed a divine phoenix, and such a familiar inspires horror and envy at the same time. Lord Luo was surprised. The existence of the divine phoenix, it frightened even him. All the monsters glowed with green fire, obeying the voice of the dead rider. The rider did not understand why such a strong phoenix made a contract with a human. He galloped into battle, but was struck by a flash of magical power. A black spiral flared in the sky, a dark glow emanating from it, and the dead rider screamed about worms. Everyone was surprised. What was happening and who was behind the rider? The black rider was illuminated by a red glow, and a huge skull appeared in the sky. Students and teachers were horrified, fearing that the city might never return to its former state. The teacher urged everyone not to panic and to pay attention to Lord Luo's efforts. Behind the dead rider lurks an even more terrifying entity. Lord Luo ordered the battle to be ended quickly and entrusted Xin Yue with the care of the disciples. Teacher Li decided to help and summoned a familiar, the raging fire kite. The familiars entered the battle, attacking from all sides. Teacher Li warned the students to be careful and went with Lord Luo against the dead rider. Lord Lo, sitting on his lion, moved forward, preparing to attack. He shouted, "Back to hell!" and swung his sword, aiming to strike. The dead rider laughed, calling them bugs and claiming that they could not withstand his might. Teacher Li ordered the raging fire kite to protect Lord Luo and attack the enemy with fire. The kite burst into flames as it charged, but the dead rider only laughed. A giant hand suddenly appeared in the sky, reaching towards the phoenix. Yolin wondered in surprise what this thing was and where the hand was taking him. The hand grabbed him, trying to steal the second stage spirit conqueror. The students watched and discussed why so much effort was spent on Yolin. Li tried to attack and shouted, "Let go of Yolin!" Yolin ordered the familiars to return to the seal, but the hand had already carried him into the black hole. Lord Law noted that it was too late, and there was no time to react. There was a bright flash in the sky, and the laughter of the dead rider could be heard on the ground. Teacher Li was angry and vowed to avenge her student. Laughter was heard everywhere, and the teachers approached the dead rider. Lord Lo, sitting on a lion, charged at the rider, creating roaring bursts of power. On the other hand, there was Teacher Li with her familiar. The ground was illuminated by flashes. The rider's laughter continued despite the wound. The defeated rider glowed red, and worms began to emerge from him, increasing the threat. The teachers assessed the danger of the Devil's Whip, preparing for the attack. The monsters began to randomly attack everyone around them, including Seung Yi, who was approaching one of them. The monster was struck by the familiar's fire, but the tension on the battlefield remained. The dead rider had already been dealt with, and now everyone was focused on destroying the monsters. The teachers planned to finish the fight before deciding on further issues. Phoenix and Yolen found themselves in an unknown place, trying to understand their surroundings. Suddenly, a lich appeared from behind, not hiding and attracting Yolen's attention. He laughed and noted Yolen's bravery in making a contract with the sacred bird Phoenix. Yolen tried to figure out why he was brought to this place, assessing the situation. Li Wei's enemy is the Lich, the third level of the 8th stage. His abilities include soul absorption, life transformation, and undead magic. High-level skills included Claw of Silence, Frenzy, and Control Undead Space. The Lich could summon earth spiders. His subordinates were the Whip and the rest. Yolen noted with horror that the enemy possessed the 3rd level of the 8th stage, realizing the full danger of the situation. Ling Xingyue and Luo Xiangshan were 7th stage spirit subduers, while Lich possessed the 8th stage, causing fear. The Lich wondered how Yolen had made a contract with the sacred bird Phoenix, such a powerful familiar. The decisive moment had arrived, and Yolen intended to use the crystallized blood of the Phoenix. Yolen, being only a 2nd stage spirit conqueror, tried to understand the greatness of the Phoenix and the purpose of his transfer. The Lich showed the ruined city and mentioned a group of scourges, inviting Yolen to join them. He called for the overthrow of the hypocritical union and the creation of a just world, promising even more terrifying forces. The Lich claimed that with these powers, Yolen would be able to destroy the heavens and earth, demonstrating the scale of the threat. Yolen noted that Lich spoke at length but did not reveal anything specific. The undead realm was completely under the control of the Lich, and what was happening outside of it remained unknown. Yolen knew it was dangerous to linger here. The Lich had turned his power on him using the rot of the undead. Yolen summoned a window and activated the Phoenix blood, realizing that without this trump card, it would be impossible to cope. Lich threatened to get rid of him if he did not prove useful, demonstrating the danger of the situation. On the battlefield, the battle continued with the monsters that were advancing in waves. Teacher Li ordered all familiars to be summoned and block the attack. The warriors followed the order, preparing to repel the onslaught of monsters. The students shouted to their familiars, calling them back: Volcano Man, Swamp Beast, Ice Turtle, Dark Chimera, Hurricane, and Dragon. Seung Yi was worried that Yolen wouldn't be able to return, asking Teacher Li a question. Teacher Li noted that no one knew Yolen's whereabouts, and he could only rely on himself. Seung Yi watched the swirl in the sky, praying for Yolen's survival. Suddenly, Lich was surprised by a huge flash on the field. The space was illuminated by an unknown flow of energy, causing confusion in the Lich. A phoenix appeared before him, blazing with bright fire. It was the sacred phoenix bird, demonstrating its 9th stage power. The sacred phoenix acknowledged the Lich's powers and was surprised by Yolen's ability to summon her 9th stage. The Lich realized that Yolen was only a 2nd-level spirit link, but he somehow knew his name. The phoenix flame engulfed the space, scorching everything around and creating chaos. The Lich tried to use the power of the Death Cloud Alley, but Yolen approached and displayed the power of the 9th stage sacred bird. Yolen focused on destroying the Lich, who became confused and screamed in horror, blazing with fire. A small flash in the darkness caught Yolen's attention. He didn't understand if the Lich had burned or had managed to escape. He picked up the Lich's storage ring. Realizing that Phoenix's time was almost up, Yolen used his power, turning the place into ashes. A portal in the sky opened, and Yolen began to fall down. Seung Yi noticed what was happening and mounted the swift wind dragon to save Yolen. The firebird breathed flames at the monsters, protecting the warriors. Seung Yi grabbed the falling Yolen and brought him to the ground. Yolen lay on the ground, and teachers and students expressed relief and concern for him. Teacher Li reminded that any damage to Yolen could result in trouble for everyone. The students noticed that the demons began to retreat, probably due to Yolen's return. Lord Lo ordered all the demons to be eliminated, and the warriors rushed to attack. Teacher Li noted that the flow of demons was decreasing and suggested sending Yolen back first. Sun Yi and the teachers tried to figure out where exactly Yolin had been taken. Yolin explained that the necromancer Leve had grabbed him and transported him to a dark space. Teachers and students were surprised to learn that Levi had an 8th degree. Yolin managed to escape, which brought admiration and relief to Seong Yi and the other students. The teachers checked him over to make sure he was not seriously injured. Yolin noted that everything happened thanks to luck, despite the enemy's strength. The students and teachers decided to let him rest and not disturb him after what he had experienced. Teacher Lee planned to report to the academy about the incident that had occurred. The students left the room wishing Yolin a good rest. Yolin remained curious as he studied the contents of the storage ring. Yolin opened the dialogue box and found many useful items: Experience Crystal, Dragon Scale, and Siren's Eye. The Dragon Scale and Siren's Eye were high-level ascension materials, and the Experience Crystals would allow Jue and Fengju to progress greatly. In the city of Cataclysm, cries were heard about the failure of Liwei's mission. Leech reported that Livy's remains were not found, raising questions from the chief. The leader guessed that Liwei was killed by the Divine Phoenix. He noted that he had lost one companion in hundreds of years, which seemed extremely strange to him. The leader recalled that Liwei had been warned not to provoke the Divine Phoenix, but he had not listened. Blackrobe led the young man waiting outside to the head. The Lich instructed Luv to call him and warned him to be careful when talking to the leader. The young man turned out to be Liu, the son of the Liu family and the ruler of Changwei City, who wanted to join the Cataclysm. The leader welcomed Liu to the organization and explained that there was a price to be paid for joining. Liu was surprised to have to pay a price to join. The head explained that loyalty to the organization gives unlimited power, while betrayal will condemn one to eternal torment. The leader activated his powers and aimed them at Luva. There were excited cries in Yolin's room due to the many useful items. Dialogue boxes have appeared, including a ring and a rescue function that allow you to select only one item. The ring allowed one to survive fatal damage by using its power to affect any attack. The ring's use was limited to once a month, but provided a chance of survival in any dangerous situation. Yolin also noticed the werewolf card, which didn't surprise him. A dialogue box has appeared describing the werewolf card, which allows the selected target to transform into human form. Once the transformation is complete, the target will be able to freely switch between their original and human forms. The werewolf card can only be used once, and its appearance cannot be changed. Yolin offered Phoenix the opportunity to take human form using a map. Phoenix was worried if he could return to his original form to continue protecting Yolin. Yolin explained that it was just a shapeshift, and Phoenix would be able to return to its original form without any problem. Phoenix agreed to the transformation, and Yolin confirmed the start of the operation. A flash from the card lit up the room, and the Phoenix glowed golden as the card began to disintegrate. Phoenix was worried about the transformation and lack of clothes, while Yolin noticed that she now looked like a pretty girl. Phoenix praised herself for her new look, while Yolin noted that she would be difficult to handle after collapsing onto the couch from a nosebleed. The airship arrived at the Holy City, and Yolin and Phoenix exited after successfully completing their mission. The next day, Teacher Lee instructed everyone to rest and recommended that Yolin especially gain strength. Yolin planned to go to Tianyu Pavilion first, which was agreed upon with the teacher. The mission was unexpected, but everyone returned unharmed and received many rewards. Using the rewards for killing monsters and the system bonuses, Shui and Fengju significantly improved. The most powerful find was an old witch's storage ring with a lot of materials. Yolin decided to go to Tianyun Pavilion first and sell some of what he had collected. The manager was running up the steps when Yolin met her and asked her to help sell the materials. Yolin brought a lot of items and had to find a place large enough to place them. Manager Chow showed a place where materials could be placed. Yolin took out the ring and began to demonstrate the items he had brought, of which there were a lot. The materials took up so much space that it would take a month to process them. His achievements impressed everyone, as he became the first boy in history to enter the Chu Kyu Ye Academy. Yolin's strength and abilities were admired by those present. The saleswoman said that people needed to be found to count the entire pile of materials, which would take some time. The headmistress was surprised by the amount of material Yolin had collected, noting that those who did not know might have thought it was a robbery. Yolin clarified that Senior Sister Sen was only joking to calm the situation. No one would dare to rob Tianyu Pavilion. The headmistress instructed Manager Chow to hurry and find people to count in order to make it to the auction. Yolin was surprised by the mention of the auction, and the headmistress offered the opportunity to take him with her. The older sister asked why he needed to go with her, causing Yolin to become confused. Yolin offered his older sister a small glass bottle of fire dragon blood essence in exchange. The headmistress became interested in the bottle and tried to determine whether it was indeed the sought-after essence. She was amazed and exclaimed, hugging Yolin. He was delighted by her softness and size, lost in surprise. Old Zhao was called upon to help determine the authenticity of the essence to ensure its quality. Zhao was surprised. Could this really be the very essence of fire dragon blood that she was looking for? Yolin was amazed by the attention given to him and received a promise of help from the headmistress in the future if needed. Yolin thought about it and decided to examine the eggs of the spirit pets. He expressed a desire to purchase one of the eggs for himself. The headmistress led Yolina to a pavilion where about 10,000 spirit pet eggs were stored and offered a 40% discount on the ones he liked. The pavilion contained up-to-date information about each egg for easy selection. Yolin looked over the rows of eggs, but many of them did not meet his expectations. The manager confirmed the authenticity of the fire dragon's blood essence in the bottle, causing the headmistress to rejoice. The headmistress was excited and hugged Yolin, causing his nose to bleed. The headmistress asked if Yolin had found an egg he liked, but he noted that there was no suitable one yet. The headmistress suggested that Yolin try his luck at the auction, since there was no suitable egg in the pavilion. Yolin agreed to check out the auction, hoping to find rare and profitable items. The older sister warned that the prices at the auction are usually high, and one should not place too much hope. They went to the headmistress's VIP box, where Yolin could sit and watch the events. The manager said that a very rare spirit pet egg would be put up for auction, although there was little detailed information about it. The headmistress reassured Yolin that he would see everything when the auction began. The auction host, Aline Lun, appeared on stage and greeted all the guests. She introduced the Tianyu Pavilion and declared the auction open. The first auction lot is the Flower of Scarlet Blood, which increases fire resistance and enhances the fire abilities of pets. The starting price of the lot was 1 million government points. A dialogue box appeared with information about the Scarlet Blood Flower, which was soaked in the blood of a powerful monster from the lava regions. The flower is already grown and increases fire resistance and control over fire skills. The item is consumable and cannot be used in multiplayer. One Scarlet Blood Flower costs 1 million state points, making it very expensive. Yolin noted the high price and rarity of the lot. The bets on the Scarlet Blood Flower were announced in the hall, reaching 11.05 million state points. Yolin wondered why the supplies were so expensive, and the headmistress explained that the price was sometimes deliberately inflated. The first lot was sold, and the host announced the next one. A mystical egg of a spirit pet. The egg cannot be valued. There are no analogs in the database. The starting price was 3 million state honor points. Yolin noticed that the egg looked fine, with an almost transparent white shell, but it was unknown what kind of pet was inside. Despite the risk, Yolin decided to keep the bet at 3 million government points. People in the room were amazed that someone would spend 3 million on an unknown lot, and discussed whether this person was really that reckless. VIP box number 1 immediately bet 3 million, and those around realized that it was the Yeshin family, who owned the Tonghui Pavilion, trying to maintain their reputation. At the auction, no one dared to outbid, so the mystical spirit pet egg was officially sold for the starting price of 3 million. The headmistress was surprised that among the many eggs, Yolin chose the one that had the lowest reviews and was considered of little value. Yolin smiled quietly because he had used the window of truth to evaluate the egg beforehand and knew its real value. He felt the joy of the unknown and unusual sensation, remaining satisfied with his decision and the purchase of the egg. The girls announced the next lot, Pearl of the Ice Sea. She said that the object is not only beautiful, but also endowed with a rare ability. Its owner will be able to summon magical beasts of the 8th and 5th levels, called ice beasts. The starting price was 20 million, and this caused noticeable surprise in the hall. Voices were heard saying that the lot was really very expensive. A dialogue box appeared describing the Pearl of the Ice Sea. The item was located in one of the sea depths and had a special power. He could summon magical beasts of the 8th and 5th levels called ice beasts for 10 minutes. With a limit of 9 uses and a 24-hour cooldown, it also allowed the user to defend against certain mental attacks while maintaining a clear mind. The headmistress noted the beauty of the pearl, and Yorin recognized it as attractive, but flashy and impractical. The headmistress added that the item was not that useful and not worth the money. The betting began in the room. 21 million, 23 million, 23 million, 30,000, 20 million, 35,000. Suddenly, a bid of 70 million was announced, causing surprise to everyone present. No one expected that someone would spend so much on such an item. At the auction, the headmistress recognized a rich and spoiled young man named Sun Hao, who relied on the Sun family's money and was accustomed to showing off. The auction was nearing its end, and Yorin was about to take the egg containing the spirit pet. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. It was Sun Hao, who appeared with the Ice Sea Pearl, worth 70 million, as a gift for the headmistress. The headmistress expressed surprise at his appearance, and Sun Hao immediately began asking questions and demonstrating his superiority, not paying attention to those present. He irritably asked who was standing in front of him and threatened. Yolen, on the other hand, responded calmly, asking why he needed such aggression and noting that anger could not solve all problems. The situation was tense, but the tension was mostly due to Sun Hao's overconfident behavior. The auction became tense. The headmistress tried to distract Yolen from the hot-tempered Sun Hao and suggested that he leave. But the boy continued to shout and act aggressively, calling Yolen a stinking boy and ordering him to be killed. Yolen kissed the headmistress, which made Sun Hao even more angry. He brought his bodyguards, 2 5th-level masters and 1 7th-level master, and threatened to interfere. The guards said that in the Tianyu Pavilion's auction area, they could not carry out Sun Hao's orders directly. Enraged and realizing that the situation was getting out of control, Sun Hao threw the pearl on the floor and eventually left the room, leaving Yeolen and the headmistress alone. After the incident with Sun Hao, he ordered Elder Chen to immediately check the information about Yeolen. The guard reported that he was the only male student enrolled in Qi Academy, and the only one who had made a contract with the Divine Phoenix Bird. Sun Hao was adamant. He wanted to kill Yolen at any cost. Yolen remained calm and even noted that Sun Hao would not bother his older sister anymore. The manager, obviously frightened and embarrassed, claimed that she had seen nothing. Yolen remained in place. The headmistress tore herself away from his embrace. She realized that her first kiss was an unexpected event, and with a boy who was almost a boy, calling herself an old pervert, although she is not old. The older sister warned him to be careful and returned to the academy. After which, Yolen calmly left the scene, thinking about the girl's shyness. At the academy, Yolen returned with the egg he had purchased at auction. He felt tired, but was pleased with the deal. Phoenix and Jue approached, noticing that the owner had a new pet. Yolen asked Jue to take a look at the new pet and demonstrated a miracle. He put his hand on the egg, which glowed with a golden glow. The egg cracked, and a mutated 3-tailed leaf spirit hatched out, causing admiration among everyone present. After the egg hatched, a dialogue box opened with the pet's characteristics. Creature name, mutated 3-tailed fox spirit. Species, fox spirit. Level, Tier 1. Level 3, Exp 0%. Development rate is average, no equipment. The pet has an innate talent for charm and low-level immunity to mental attacks. Its skills include charm and foxfire. Evolution into a 4-tailed fox is not yet possible. This requires the materials Demon Foxtail, Soul Capture Bead, and 10 low-level mental power crystals. Yolen reached out to his new pet, trying to pet him gently. The fox, naturally wary, pressed himself against his shoulder. Phoenix noticed his behavior and flared up. She believed that her space was violated. The animal occupied her meat on Yolen's shoulder. Yolen tried to calm her down, reminding her that she had taken human form herself, and there was no need to be so jealous. The atmosphere became lively as the pets began to compete for Yolen's attention. To establish the new order, Yolen suggested coming up with a name for the 3-tailed fox. Phoenix suggested Wang Kai, which surprised Yolen. He, in turn, came up with a longer and more fanciful name, Bai Lin, affectionately known as Xiao Bai. The fox responded happily, as if agreeing with the new name, and Yolin was pleased that peace had been established between the pets. Phoenix noted that the name Balin did not sound as impressive as she would like. Yolin, watching the pets, insisted that they get along with each other. The fox turned his attention to the screen and showed interest. Yolin realized that for full interaction and development, he needed to start by leveling up his new pet, Xiaobai. In the office of the owner of the Tianyu Pavilion, Shen Fei-yun was with his daughter. He proudly noted that she had easily dealt with the representatives of the Sun family. He confidently stated that no one would be able to intimidate his daughter, the heir to the family. The conversation then turned to his younger brother, Yolin, and his father admitted that he did indeed have outstanding qualities. Once he became the only male disciple accepted into Zhukui Academy as an exception. The daughter, Meng Yao, was embarrassed by this, to which her father joked about his possible sympathy for Yolin. She tried to deny it, but her father's thoughts ironically noted that Yolin had managed to put her in an awkward position. Father came to the conclusion that Yolin was indeed difficult and expressed a desire to meet him in person someday. A week later, many students gathered on the street near the academy. Seong approached Yolin, noting that they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and that his fighting power had noticeably increased during this time. Seong-yu said that she is ready to take part in the competition today. Yolin wasted no time in declaring that he had come to issue a challenge, addressing the second-year leader. The girls around him exclaimed in admiration and surprise, commenting on his courage and self-confidence. Ever since he entered the second year, Yolin actually challenged the second year head to a duel, people whispered. The girls discussed the situation, surprised that Zhou Shiyu would not refuse the challenge. She was indeed strong, and with proper training she could have reached the third level, which would have opened the door for her to move on to the third year. There was tension among the spectators, as Yolin was currently ranked third among the second-year students, and no one knew how the match would end. Elder sister Shiyu was ready to begin, asking if he was ready to fight. Yulin confirmed that he was ready, and the girl eagerly waited to see how far he had progressed. Seong-yi summoned the power of the Storm Dragon and the Diamond Gorilla. Her familiars appeared next to her, ready to fight. The spectators watched this confrontation with interest, discussing the chances of the participants. Yolin shouted, calling Shui to him. The girls watching were amazed by the beauty of Yolin's familiar. They noted that even their own spirit pets could not compare to his being. Sung-yi wondered why Yolin didn't use his divine bird Phoenix. Was he underestimating her? Yolin reassured Seung-yi, telling her not to worry and to trust him. At this moment, the Storm Dragon began its attack, and the Diamond Gorilla, Seung-yi's familiar, rushed to attack. She struck with her powerful fists, but Yolin dodged them in time. A bright light flashed in the sky. The Storm Dragon's energy spilled out as Seung-yi commanded it to unleash its full power. The dragon continued to release magical energy, dealing devastating blows to the enemy. Yolin shouted at Siwei to use her new skill, Death Glare. The girl concentrated and activated the ability, directing deadly energy at the gorilla. Suddenly, the familiar slowed down, losing speed and attack effectiveness. Siwei quickly grabbed the gorilla's arm and threw it sharply to the side to protect her allies and create space for a counterattack.